The reason why you're weak is your mind's weak. You've never been through anything. You've never seen any type of turmoil in your life. You've never been in a situation where you gotta make it happen. Nobody else is coming to save you. You up, you failed, own it, and let's move on to the next week. If you never address failure, then you're never gonna get stronger.
It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. All right, guys, we're back with another episode of Table Talk. Today, my guest is Eugene Bazemore, powerlifter, meet director, powerlifting coach, Instagram phenomenon. What I want to do before we jump into your origin story is, if there's one piece of advice that you could give any aspiring powerlifter getting into powerlifting today, what is it?
I had 3 words, and I think about this every day now, but 3 words: less is more is probably what I would tell a younger powerlifter. And the reason why I say that is because we want to do everything right away and get everything done in a short amount of time. But powerlifting is a marathon. You have to put the time in. And it's a recipe of catastrophe if you want everything right now. Now, you still want to have that mentality that I want it all right now, but you have to structure your progress in a way where it's healthy for you, not just for the gym, but your life overall. So I think the 3 words, less is more, is the best way to describe it, because I put so much into this that made my life so unhealthy in other areas. And I think when everything is working at full cylinders and everything is working full power ahead, that's when you're in your best situation to get the strongest possible. So for a younger powerlifter, be passionate, but understand and be realistic about what you truly want to accomplish, and be realistic about the time you're going to have to put into this to get there.
I'm going to follow that up with a yeah, but let's go back to yourself and your younger 20s. Because this advice isn't new.
Oh, no.
It's always been around. So people are telling you that same thing in your younger 20s, and you're saying, piss off.
Yeah, I'm telling them to get out my face. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's what we all get into as we get older, as lifters, competitors. Even now, you see Phil Heath doing it. You see some of the stuff he's putting out, and it's like, whoa, bro, that's not what got you where you need to go. And I hear some of the older lifters talk about now is completely contrast to what they did back then. So I'll admit it, yes. When I first started off, I did everything possible to get the strongest I could in the shortest amount of time right now. And I still realize the error of my ways now. And that's the whole moral of elite FTS is live, learn, pass on. So we lived the mistakes, and we learn from the mistakes, and we want to pass that on and say, hey, look, I did that. That didn't work, and that wasn't unhealthy, because yeah, I got this, but it cost all of this. So you have to make that decision. What's worth it? What's worth losing, and for what you want to gain. And I think I made a lot of mistakes back then that I said, you know what, maybe if I would have held off on that a little bit longer, I could have still made that same amount of progress, and things would have held itself together in other areas of my life. So yeah, you're right. It's a complete contrast to what I did in my early 20s. Absolutely. Like, I didn't care if I had to go to the gym and deadlift twice a week at 90%. I didn't care. I was going to try it. I was going to fail trying. I don't care if I bench 3 times a week. I don't care if I had to eat 8 meals and it felt like crap. I didn't space the meals out. I ate. I stayed up till 2, 3 in the morning. Now I sacrifice sleep for meals. There's times where I sacrifice meals for sleep, sacrifice recovery just to feel the weight. I did a lot of stupid things early on that I'm realizing, hey, I probably shouldn't have did that. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. I don't regret it, because I learned from it.
Well, I wonder because it's a bit of a weird journey, the whole thing is, because what you have to do to get to a certain point becomes to get to that next point becomes the exact opposite of what you had to do to get that original point.
That is true, man. And
if you flipped it,
yeah,
right, and did what you have to do, say 35 years plus or whatever, in your 20s, then you're not going to make any progress at all. If you do what you did in your 20s when you're in your mid 30s and more, you're not going to make any progress at all. So it's It's a weird thing.
I completely agree. And, you know, shout out to my training. I still got the same training crew that I had back home. I've met more lifters, but I'm still lifting with my friend Mike and Tyler, and a lot of other guys, Brian, a lot of guys back home. And we've even changed how we've approached the gym. There were times where back then we were going to the gym and deadlifting, you know, twice a week, every single week. And then I hit 750, you know. And, you know, once you get to a certain number, it's like, okay, man, now you're going to have to change it because your body's not coming back fast enough. You're doing other things, other lifts, things of that nature. And it took us a long time of hitting our head against the wall saying, hey, you know what? Something's going to happen. Something's going to yield until we finally say, you know what? Now we need to change it. You know, because, you know, your thirst for progress has to be more than your thirst for progress has to outweigh your love for training. And I hate to say it that way. I feel horrible when I say that, but we love to train so much. It's the best thing about all this. Going to the gym, loading the bar up, feeling the weight after a long day, or maybe you're going through some things in life and you want to really just feel the resistance. But what do you love more? Do you love the therapy of the gym more, or do you love adding that 5 pounds that you need? Maybe you need to stay away from the gym maybe 1 or 2 days and say, you know what, if I stay away from the gym 1 or 2 days, if I can just stay out of the gym for 1 or 2 days, and sometimes that's harder than the workout. That's absolutely harder than the workout to say, no, I don't need to go train today, because if I go train today, Saturday is going to be jacked up. I need Saturday to be good because I need next Tuesday to be okay. Mm-hmm. I know every lifter's thinking this. And I think for the passionate powerlifter or the passionate athlete, that's hard. That's harder than the workout. I can go to the gym and train for 3 hours, 4 hours, and I'll be fine. Mentally, I'll be great. I'll be happy I did it. But if I go to the gym 2 or 3 hours and train, and then I come back 4 days later, and I didn't get any stronger because I keep beating my body up, was it worth it? Am I happy? Now I'm depressed. You know, mm-hmm. So it's all about counteracting bad habits with good reinforcement. You got to learn from your mistakes. You can't keep doing the same thing. And that's a lot of what I see in powerlifting now, man. You see these kids, they go to the gym, they do the same thing every week. And maybe they might add 2 or 3 pounds to a lift. But what if you change something that could have added 6 or 10 pounds to that lift in 2 months instead of that 1 or 2 pounds that you're proud of? And be proud of all progress. I'm not saying you shouldn't be proud of all progress, but the moral of powerlifting is to get the strongest you can, the fastest possible, so you can go to that meet. And like Panora says, you need to be winning meets. You need to be winning meets. It's okay to get stronger. But I fell in love with powerlifting when WPO was still big. Mm-hmm. You know, when Chuck V was walking up to the bar with the flame Scully, I fell in love with that. That's what I saw. I didn't see IPF. You know, I didn't see all of that. I saw Westside. I saw Westside before I saw Pumping Iron. So it was just, my mindset was, all right, well, I need to be getting strong and I need to step on these guys. I need to be better than all the local lifters, you know? But there were some things I had to do that my friends back home weren't doing to surpass them. And they love training. Those guys back in Georgia, they love training. They'll go to the gym every day. But I said, hey guys, why don't we not go to the gym so we can go a little bit harder in 2 days? So we can go a little bit heavier. So, you know, I think you're right, Dave. I think as we get older, we start to be a little bit hypocritical as lifters. You know, when we were younger, and I've heard the stories of what you and your guys used to do, and I'm like, man, that is crazy. They did that. They put those 2 days together, and they did those 2 lifts the same day in the gym. But I know back then, if you could have looked back and changed some things, you know, I probably would have spaced this out, because I probably got a little bit better, a little bit faster if I just kind of structure my days better. And I think it becomes, as you get older, it's definitely more about intellect.
Well, there's more experience.
Absolutely.
So where did this all start? When did you first start training? Just with weights.
I mean, can I tell you the uncut story?
Yeah.
I moved to Georgia in a very toxic situation. You know, my home back in Virginia wasn't the best situation for me.
At what age?
I think it was 25, 26, going on 25, 26, just into trouble. You know, I got out of the military, you know, and I was in law enforcement for a while, but I guess I was a slave to discipline. The only thing that was making me behave like an actual human was the discipline that you needed to operate in those fields.
What about sports when you were a younger kid? Sports
definitely saved me. So, I mean, I grew up in the foster care system. You know, I never knew my mom and dad. So self-esteem, all those things were always a problem for me early on. From the very beginning, I always questioned myself in every single thing I did. You know, I didn't look like all the other kids. I didn't have the home life that all the other kids have. And that's when the anger really started to grow, when I started to realize, why didn't I get the opportunity that other kids got? And I think that's what planted the seed to the anger. that I'm able to tap into on the platform. Way back all those years then, it's like, man, why didn't I get dealt a better hand? You know, and you still to this day, I ask myself that question. I don't think I'm mentally healed from all those things, but the gym helps me work through it. So that's where it all started. It started with me playing middle school basketball. I had a pair of Shaqs. I got my favorite number, and I got kicked off the basketball team right before the first game because I was fighting in school. I'm an angry kid, you know. I'm an angry kid. You say any one wrong thing, it could be just yo mama, and I'm punching, you know. And that's how I was when I was growing up, and that's how I was until I finally learned. I think the lesson that taught me, I had an ex-girlfriend, and she wanted me to take her to prom. And you know, if you get suspended that year in high school, you don't get to go to the prom. That's how it is now. So of course,
the whole time,
the whole entire year, if you get suspended one time.
So you spend it for 1 week. No, you can't go to the prom at the end of the year.
At the end of the year. Now this happened before winter break. So I got suspended early in the year. I got in a fight in a stairwell. But I missed prom, but I gained something great that year. It was my junior year of high school. I got into a fight. I'll never forget the guy's name because I'm actually best friends with him now. His name is Anthony. I got into a fight with him. And I had a football coach that came and broke up the fight. And he said, hey, man, you want to fight all the time. I always see you fighting. You're always suspended. Why don't you come to football practice after school? I said, you know, man, I ain't going to no football practice, man. I'm going home. So naturally, I didn't ride the bus. I rode my bike. And I get home, and it was something weird about that day. I had finished all my homework, which I never did my homework, which was weird to me right then and there. That's why I knew that was going to be a weird evening. Because I'm like, bro, I'm actually sitting here doing my homework. And I looked at the clock next to my bed, and I noticed that football practice didn't start for another 15 minutes. My bike was a 10-minute ride from the school. I said, you know what, man? I'm not doing nothing. Let me ride back up to the school. And that's how it all started. I rolled back up to the school to that football practice. He gave me a helmet, threw me a whole helmet. Our school was broke, so we still had remember Rudy, the movie Rudy? I had the Rudy face mask on my helmet. And he was like, you know what? You're an angry person, man. You're very violent. I want you to stay in here in front of this big guy, and I want you to go get that guy right there. And I didn't know what he was talking about. He was talking about the quarterback. And he said, go. And before I knew it, I was already at the quarterback. I was already there. And I was like, man, I don't, like, what was this? And everybody on the side was like, whoa, that's crazy. And I didn't even know what I did, you know, and that's when it started. That's when I was like, wow, what did I do? And all my team was telling me, man, you need to be on the team. You need to try out and all this other stuff. And I tried out. I made the team. I never played junior varsity. I was straight on the varsity squad right away. In my first game of the season, I got 3 sacks. First game, I never played organized sports before this, man. I had always been in and out the street, playing video games, in and out the street, in trouble with my friends. But this was the first organized sport. You know, most kids, they grow up playing rec or AAU or something like that. But that was my first time being on a part of an organized situation. And football was what really originally gave me the confidence to say, you know what, if I work very hard, I can be good at this. And then as life went on, I applied that same mentality from that football to everything else, and everything always works out. Every time I work hard at something, if I put extra time into it, if I'm diligent with it, it works out.
So with the football, were you the hardest working person on the team?
Absolutely not.
And then, no. Absolutely
not. And that's another thing that helped me. I had other guys around me. Like I had some guys, like Jacory Robertson. Taylor Heineke was actually my, I don't know if you remember him. He's in the NFL now. But Taylor Heineke was my football teammate in college. But I always had guys around me during football that worked harder than me. I was not the strongest guy on the team. Everybody was benching 315. I was benching 175, you know.
Did you care?
No, I didn't care because I knew I could get to the quarterback. I didn't care about being weak. I didn't care about, actually, I skipped the weight room half the time. I didn't go. I didn't start going to the weight room until my senior year when, you know, college opportunities started becoming a thing. And, you know, those colleges, they'll come to you and say, hey, look, you're underweight. We can't offer you anything until you gain this amount of weight. So I didn't care. All I cared about was getting to the quarterback and hitting people and hurting people because I was so angry, Dave. I was like extremely angry that, you know, especially on senior night, that's the one that hits the hardest when you got to walk out with your parents on senior night. And I'm walking out there by myself, you know, and I see everybody else with there. And that made me so angry, man. These are things that stick with me. And that's what I think makes me a good powerlifter, because I can keep those memories in the back of my mind and say, you know what? All these things went wrong. All these things went wrong. But if I can grab this bar right now and lock this lift out, this will be one thing I got right.
So if you weren't putting the time in the weight room and the strength and conditioning, were you putting more time in with your skill work?
Absolutely. Bag drills, sled drills, one-on-ones. I went to every single college camp. Frank Beeman, who was the head coach of Virginia Tech at the time, I went to his college camp probably about 3 times. I talked to other people, and that's another thing. I talk to people. I don't care if somebody's stronger than me. That doesn't hurt me. It doesn't intimidate me that somebody's stronger than me. I don't care if the total's 200 or 300 pounds more than me. What did you do to get there? Tell me. Because when you tell me what you did, I'm going to do 3 times that, and I'm going to figure it out. And I think that's what it was back then, Dave. I didn't care about. I would go to the track. I knew defensive linemen couldn't run a mile, so I ran a mile. I knew defensive linemen, they couldn't hold blocks. I know defensive linemen couldn't run special teams. So it got to the point where I was such a hard worker and I was so conditioned, I never came off the field. I even started playing offensive tackle at one point, So
how many other people on the team were putting in the extra work in those areas?
I'm not going to say everybody. That'd be a total lie. It was probably about 5 or 6 guys on my high school football team that would be out there either before me or after me or even out there as a whole.
Well, the reason I'm kind of digging into this is a lot of people will look at D1 players, football players, NFL players, and say, "Man, look at this. They don't spend any time in the weight room. They don't do this. They don't do this, right?" But their passion is the game, right? So you were putting the extra time and the skills required for the game. Where, we'll get back to powerlifting here, but in powerlifting, it's amazing to me how many people don't put any practice in the skills of the lifts.
Come on, man.
Whereas that's where your whole focus was. It's like the strength and conditioning, whatever. I don't have time for that. I have to learn how to get around.
It's more important to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, I got to learn how to get around tackle. I need to, work on your.
Because I saw plenty of that, Dave. I saw plenty of guys go to a college camp and run a 4.240, but they can't catch. I saw plenty of defensive linemen. They can bench 315 for 10, but they get held by one guy at the offensive line. And we can't afford that. You can't tackle the running back. You can't get around the offensive tackle. You can't do any of these things we need you to do to win the game. The moral of the story is to win the football game. If I get to the quarterback and I sack the quarterback, the play is over. They have to figure something else out. So I understand that you're stronger than me. I understand you might jump higher. I understand that you might run faster, but you can't get to the quarterback like I can. And that's the moral. So we got to keep the main thing. I think athletes, passionate athletes who make it to the NFL or the NBA, they understand what the main thing is and they work on it. And they structure everything around it. You understand that as a defensive lineman, your job is to get to the quarterback. My job isn't to be the strongest bench presser. My job isn't to be the best squatter. My job isn't to be the fastest 40 time on the team. My job is to get to the quarterback. Because once I do that, it doesn't matter how much that offensive lineman bench. I got past him. So he can go back to the gym and bench if he wants to, but he didn't block me. So what do you need him for? So I think that you're right. We got to keep the main thing about the main thing as athletes. And I don't want to circle back to powerlifting, but you want to get better at squatting, you got to squat. And I think that's what's hurt me over time. Probably my weakest lift is my squat. I didn't spend enough time under the bar. I didn't spend enough time under the bar. So now what I'm doing now, okay, I did all these crazy things with bench and deadlift. I'll do 10 sets of deadlift all day long or 10 sets of bench all day long, but I wasn't doing 10 sets of squat. And that's the skill work I need to get better at the lift. So that's what I'm doing now. That's how I'm structuring my lift now. My last leg day, Zed was there, and I just tried to squat until I couldn't stand up anymore. And I think that's going to be the key of me being able to learn that lift, learn my body on that lift, and how to best structure and stack my body under the bar to be able to hit the lift. But without the experience, how can you ever learn that?
Well, if we relate this back, were you defensive end?
Yes.
Okay. If we relate this back to being a defensive end, you have all the skill work you're doing, all the bag work you're doing. You have some of it that's done in slow time, some of it that's done in real time, some of it's done in game time.
Right.
But over the period of the week, with a lot of these skills, there's hundreds of reps that are accumulating, right? Which all boil down into either that first step or actually the reaction to whatever you see. Right. So the first step one way or another. And so there's a technical aspect there.
Absolutely.
Right. And if it's, say, an offensive lineman, it could be first step back, side step, whatever that lateral step is, there's more skills that are involved. Where in powerlifting, the only time for most people work the skills is on their work sets. They don't even think about it on the warm-up sets, right? Because that's just the short, that's just whatever you have to do to be able to get up there. And take the monolift out and say there's a walkout, right? This is the easier way to explain
Right.
that. Most people won't even think about their walkout until their work sets. Meanwhile, they've already had 70% of all repetitions done for the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So if you were on the field and your position coach is there and you're doing the drill, and 70% of all the drills that you're doing, if it's in slow speed or whatnot, are bad. They're not right. First off, he's on your ass. Mm-hmm. He's yelling at you because you're practicing like shit.
Right.
He's also on your ass because you're reinforcing bad
habits. Exactly.
And if it looks bad when you're going at full speed, you're done.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're done with this. Go over here, go run the fucking tires or whatever it's going to be.
Exactly.
Right. So that doesn't happen in powerlifting, but it's still a sport with a skill. A really easy skill, by the way. A fucking squat, a bench, and a deadlift, which is way easier than the skills that you have to acquire as a defensive end, right? Because it may be, containing, it may be dropping back. There's multiple things based upon the play that you have to be able to do. But that skill set practice mentality doesn't find its way in the sport of powerlifting, which blows my mind.
You know what I tell my younger lifters back home that I'm helping? And I like that people are trying to force me into the coaching role. I hate how coaching is going in powerlifting. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But they got kids out here that do one meet and they get 350 dots and, 1,500 total. And now they're all-American coach. Haven't been around the sport for longer than a year yet. Now they're a coach. But me coaching to me is being involved with the process 110%. I understand, I respect all these guys. They send emails, they're texting back and forth, everything's virtual. But me, I won't take a guy on unless he can be a part of the group. You want to know why? Because execution, just like you said, it's very important. Now, if I send you a PDF and I said I need 5x5, that's simple enough, right? But there are other things that are on that 5x5 within those sets that I want you to do that I can't tell you to do on paper. I got to be there and say, hey, look, man, and like you said with the warm-ups, I see guys, they get under the bar. It's just the bar. And they're just caressing the bar like they're about to make love to it. I'm like, bro, do you know what's coming? Do you know what's coming later today? There's going to be 300 to 400 more pounds on that bar later today. You think moving that bar like that and setting the tone that way is going to set you up for a good day? No, man. That's not good. That's not how you do it. You have to warm up, whether it's football, basketball, lacrosse, swimming, golf, any of that. You have to take those first couple swings, reps, shots with intention.
Dave Tate here from Elite FTS to talk to you about bands. We've been a supplier of bands for almost 2 decades now. So I've known my way around the band landscape. When I'm talking about bands, I'm talking about floss bands, long bands, short bands, bands you can use for resistance training, mobility training, body weight training, and flossing. One of our most popular bands, or actually our most popular bands, are the long bands. The long bands are typically used the most with squats, bench presses. Our floss bands are bands that you wrap around the joint to be able to help with mobility, circulation. And the short bands are designed for shorter range movements, bench press, deadlifts, and a lot of times people will use them with resistance machines to help accommodate the strength resistance curve. Head over to elitefts.com and look for bands in the toolbar or blowout menu.
And in my mind, I say, you know what? Just got the bar. It's just a bar, and I'm holding on my chest, and I'm thinking to myself, today's gonna be a good fucking day. Today's gonna be a good day. I'm telling myself that before anything gets on the bar. Why? Because it starts here and it starts with execution, which is why I won't coach a lot of people. I can't coach execution through a computer screen. I cannot do that, And I think a lot of people, they forget that the warm-up is part of the work. Your muscles are still contracting under that weight, whether it be 45 pounds or 450 pounds. Your muscles still contracting. Take every single opportunity when you touch a barbell to get better. I don't care what it is. I count on walkouts. When my guys do walkouts, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, even when it's just the bar. Because what I've read in books when it comes to human anatomy and, our ancestors, as far as the humans before us, they were stronger because they didn't think. You get what I'm saying? Your best lifts, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Dave, your best lifts in your whole entire life, you don't even remember doing them. You know you did it, but you don't remember doing them because you're strong. Your strongest version of you is the one that doesn't have to think, the one that can just do. If you train this This is the only way you can tap into it. But if every time you walk up to a bar or walk up to a bench or walk up to a deadlift, you're thinking, you've already taken 30 pounds off the lift right there, just thinking. So what we have to do is we have to take every single warm up like it's a top set. We have to. I'm already yelling, huffing and puffing when there's one play on the bar. Why? Because I know what's coming. I'm excited, but I'm establishing and setting the tone for that day. So when I see a guy and he takes the ball off the rack and he's doing this and he's twisting, and that's cool. Warm up, that's great. But you got to put something behind the bar. The weight is not going to want to move. I tell my guys this all the time. That weight doesn't want to fucking move off the floor. It doesn't want to move off the floor. So what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to agree with the weight? You can't be thinking. And I think that's the skill. That's what skill is. Skill is the ability to be able to do. Just do. You do it right. You do it in your sleep. You do it when you're tired. You do it when you're sore. You just do it because you've trained it so much. You've got the repetitions and experience behind it. You don't have to think.
It becomes automatic.
Automatic. And that's when you know that, I'm not going to say, because we never master skill. We've never mastered skill, but that's when you know you're advanced with skill. You don't have to think so much.
Yes.
And I see all these guys like with Julius Maddox. He has this set up, but I'm pretty sure Julius Maddox is not thinking too much when he's under that weight. Even with Dan Grigsby, I had the pleasure to see Dan's. I was emceeing a meet a couple weeks ago by my boy Matt with 365 Strong in Florida, and I seen Dan Grigsby deadlift. And one thing I see, he was about to bomb out, man. Dan Grigsby was about to bomb out. The gym was 94 degrees. His hands were sweating. It was humid in there. It was probably one of the most amazing things I ever seen. I had a friend named Kyle, and I also had Dan Grigsby there. They were both going for big totals. It was Kyle's first 2K total he was going for, and Dan Grigsby was going for a big pool. Things didn't go well that way. I'm going to do it for him. He's not going to make excuses because he's a Marine. I'm the Army guy, so I can make the excuses. So I'll make excuses for him. It was hot in the gym. But one thing I noticed about Dan Grigsby's, every single one of those setups, the first setup was the same. The second setup was the same. And even when he was in the midst about to bombing out the meat, and this is a lesser known fed. This isn't the bigger feds that we cling to now. This is a lesser known fed. He still walked up to the bar with the same demeanor, calm, just like he was in his first attempt. In the back of his mind, he knows if I don't get this, I bomb out. But that's how I know Dan Grigsby has mastered a level of skill, because he's not thinking. He knows what he has to do, and it's the same way every single time. This time he just has to hold the weight because his hands was, chalk and water don't mix. Yeah. So that's how it was, and that's what I think. I think it's very important not to be so worried about, we want to lift heavy weights, but sometimes go in the gym and train the skill of the lift.
So during the time with your football, were you able to keep all the anger on the field, or was it still outside?
No, absolutely not, man. Absolutely not. I got in a fight with a couple teammates. It was crazy. It was a crazy time, but I had a group of men around me who understood. I had older men that were around me who understood. This kid is angry. He's angry, doesn't know his mom and dad. He's getting in trouble in school. Grades aren't the best. So we got to work with him. And I thank God for those guys back in Churchland, in Portsmouth, Virginia, because, they saw something in me where they kept me around and said, you know what, I know why you're so mad, man. I understand.
So what those conversations look like?
They use life. They use life. And I hated it because all I wanted to think about was football. I hated life. I want to just think about football, man. Let's just talk about football. Let's not talk about college. Let's not talk about my family that I'm going to have one day. Let's not talk about that. I don't want to talk about that, but they did. They made me talk about it. They made me think about it. And I think that's what changed me in the end. They say, you know what? All that works on the football field. But when you go to a job interview, you can't be yelling and screaming just because somebody said something you don't like.
So how many times would you guess they've had those conversations with you until you actually started to hear them?
Oh, the whole junior year.
So all the time?
All the time. It was my senior year when I finally started to wake up. It was my senior year when I finally started to wake up. And I missed a big tackle because I was too angry, We all have that lift we missed because we're too hyped. Yeah. But I missed a big tackle. We was playing Great Bridge in the playoffs. We had to win this game and go home. And I'm so angry. They were doing some little offensive trick where the offensive linemen were cutting the defensive linemen. And I had never seen that before because I hadn't been around football that long. So I see the offensive linemen, they hike the ball and all the offensive linemen lay on the ground. I'm like, nah, bro, try to block me. What are you doing? So that's making me frustrated. Like, bro, try to block me. And then as soon as you jump over the offensive lineman, it's a screenplay. So now they're throwing the ball behind me. And I'm angry. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? So I grabbed the quarterback's face mask and I'm like shaking his face mask on the ground. They put me out for a play. They tell me to get it. Like, Gene, stop. Calm down. Didn't listen. Hey, you're going to cost us this game if you don't calm down. I'm like, all right. So It's third and 30, man. I'll never forget it. I think it's on YouTube somewhere. I tried to find it with my girl a couple weeks ago, but they didn't cut one play, and I was so angry. They didn't cut one play, but it was a screenplay. 3rd and 30. He needed to make this pass. It needed to be a touchdown pass to win the game. If they get this, they move on. If I can get to the quarterback, I end it. And even now, I think if I would have sacked the quarterback, I probably would have been at Alabama or something like that. Mm-hmm. But that's not how things played out. I had to learn a hard lesson that day that my anger was not the answer to all my problems. It was not the answer to all my problems. So they hiked the ball. I'm up the field. I'm 1,000 miles per hour. No discipline, no thought, no strategy, nothing. And he steps up in the pocket. He simply it's the most, even to this day, I thought it was the most beautiful step up. I've seen NFL games, 100 NFL games, but I never seen a beautiful step up like that because he stepped up on me so bad, I was sliding across his jersey as he stepped up in the pocket. I tripped and fell, and I saw him throw a bomb. And the bomb lands between two corners into his receiver's hands in the end zone. They win the game. I'm just on the ground crying my eyes out. My face mask is in the dirt. I'm seeing bugs and all this other stuff. And that's when I realized, man, if I had to just kind of calm down just a little bit, just kind of see what was going on, they're not going to keep cutting me. What if I could have just used some type of intellect there? And that's when I went into my senior year when I had a better season than I ever had. I think I had like 30 sacks that year. And I had a great game. I had 14 tackles in one game, broke the high school record for the most tackles in the game because I started thinking more instead of using my anger. Now, my anger still came into play in some situations, but I don't have that uncontrolled anger that I used to when I was a lot younger. I think that's what saved my life long term. So did it allow you to read the plays easier? A lot easier. I started being able to read screen passes, options. I started to be able to look at the quarterback to know if he's going to keep the ball on the run. Is this the type of guy that's going to keep the ball? I started looking in guys' eyes. I started being able to read people and, okay, well, it's 3 receivers to the left in the pocket over here. I need to go ahead and maybe branch out a little bit. I might have to play zone. I might have to audible, and I started being able to make those decisions under pressure because I was still angry, but not enraged. I think there's a difference. I think you can be angry, but I think when you cross the line, you're enraged. And I think when I was enraged, I was totally useless to my team, Did it change the game for you as far as how you perceive the game? It's because I can relate to what you're saying a little bit because I had a year playing defensive end, and the only thing I wanted to do, the only thing was knock the fuck out of the quarterback. Absolutely. It's don't even know the guy. The best hit ever was like right after they released. Oh yeah, they don't even see it. The legal one, that 1 second that the ref is not going to it's not legal now. But then it was legal. But you knock the fuck out of it. They go like 10 fucking feet. The helmet falls off. It's the greatest thing in the world. But it's just like rage that's just building, and then as soon as the ball snaps, it's like hit that motherfucker. And if somebody's carrying the ball as I'm going there, I'll hit them. But really, that's where the focus is. And then they defense changed, and I'd have to start dropping back, and I hated that, right? Because it's like that's what college happened to me. That's what happened to me in college. Yeah, I had to start to learn how to play pass protection. Yeah. Ooh. They just moved me in. They're like, you're going to be offensive tackle now because your rage can't. So it's, but I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? Because in one way it was just contained, which is how the defense was set up. Just contain this everything inside. And knock the shit out of whoever comes this way. And this way you may have to contain, you may have to drop back. It's like, fuck this. It's too much I got to think about. Put me in and, defensive tackle and just bust through or whatever it is, or offensive guard tackle in there. But I know what you're talking about with that rage, because I'd be sitting there fucking singing like Iron Man or Metallica or some shit on the line, just getting ready to just knock the living fuck out of somebody. And the frustration when you get beat, that's another one, kind of what you're talking about, getting chopped out. Just get humbled. I had a whole game in Zanesville, man, where every fucking play this guy was just kicking my ass, and it pissed me off so I ended up getting a fight with him to hope that he would get thrown out. So he did, so I basically picked the fight. Intellect, man. Yeah, they punched me in the helmet and knocked me the fuck out. Yeah. But ended up going that way. So in college, when you make that move there, were you able, because I'm still trying to figure out how you're containing this anger outside of the field to be able to stay
eligible?
Because I wanted to play. That was the driving force.
So you knew the line, like you could push things this far, but this far.
This would keep me from what I love.
Yeah.
You know, and I think as an athlete, that above all else, we want to do what we love. We want to get to the gym and lift. So why get arrested? You can't lift in jail now, you know? Or I want to go to football practice. Well, I know if I don't go to this class and I'm ineligible, I can't play. So there's no point in me practicing. So I think the line I drew was at what kept me away from what I love. And that's when I said, okay, all right, I want to go pull this guy out of his car and choke him until his eyes pop. But if I do that, I'll probably have to face charges and I won't be able to lift later. So I'll let that guy slide today because I want to lift.
So then how'd this move into college?
So basically when I got to college, I had a head coach named Bobby Wilder who was who just revitalized the Old Dominion University football program. Old Dominion had a football program during World War II, but naturally the draft happened. So they didn't have a football program. I think in the year 2010 or 2009, they brought it back. Lucky for me, Old Dominion's in Virginia. I graduated high school in 2011. So that's how that all worked out. But Bobby Wilder was just a menace. You thought you were a badass or you thought you were angry. Nobody was crazier than Bobby Wilder, man. I remember one time we went to church on Sunday and he came in church and it cussed us all out in church because we weren't in the film room. So, that was probably an eye-opener for me. Like, man, I'm from inner city Portsmouth. You know, I've seen some of the craziest things you can see in a childhood. But when I saw that was crazy. I'm like, bro, you're in a church. You know, MFers and weak MFers. And I'm like, bro, it's crosses. You fucking weak motherfucker. I'm like, oh my God. You guys should be studying film. If we lose one game, God's not going to save you from me. And I'm like, bro. So
and he's in church.
I'm going to credit Bobby Wilder for kind of calming me down because there was certain things. It was certain things I didn't do on campus because, man, you're going to have to go talk to Bobby. He called them, our mascot was Monarchs. He called them Monarch Reminders. Yeah. They had to be on the field, full pads, 4 a.m. You didn't stop doing your Monarch Reminder until he looked at your schedule and saw you had a class. He gave you 30 minutes to get ready for that class. And that's when you stopped.
So how was the strength and conditioning at this phase?
Oh my God. That's when I learned so much. That's when I learned I could possibly be a good deadlifter. That's when I learned how important nutrition is. Back then, the big thing back then was muscle milk. And they gave us boatloads of muscle milk. We had a sponsorship of muscle milk and I took a lot of it and I would go to the gym and just bench so much. And I would just do everything I could to get better because we had, you get from high school to college, those guys are huge. Those guys are huge, man. I got there was a guy named David Bourne. He was 7'5", 350. He had the wingspan as long as his table probably. He's just tossed me around. And Bobby was like, hey, man, speed doesn't matter in college if you're small. And he just walked away. That's what he said to me. He walked up to me. I was a freshman. Hey, man, speed doesn't matter if you're little and you're weak. And he just walked away. And I'm like, damn. So you're used to this kind of clout you have in high school. You know, the coaches talk to you differently. The kids in school talk to you differently. You kind of worship. You get to college, nobody gives a fuck about none of that. You know, you're a freshman. You're a redshirt freshman. You're 40 pounds too small. You're not strong as you should be. And everybody wants to be a true freshman. But
how did that impact you mentally? Because if you come up through the foster care system where basically nobody gives a fuck, right? And then through high school football, you get to a place where you have a little status where some people give a fuck, right? So you're kind of there. Then you go to the next level and nobody gives a fuck.
I was depressed about 6 weeks. For the first 6 weeks of the freshman year, I was depressed. I started questioning whether I was really a good football player or not.
So what'd you do about it?
I started working harder. That was my answer. You remember? So that's my answer to everything. I can't figure this out, man. I don't know what's going on. Why is he stronger than me? Why is he bigger than me? Why is he taller than me? You know what? Fuck that. They're not going to the weight room today. I'm going to the fucking weight room. You know, we don't have practice today. Well, the field's open. I can get in the field. And I started working harder. And that's when things started to come together. I started making a couple plays in practice. That's when I realized, you know what? I can figure out anything as long as I work harder. And that's how I figured it out. But for the first 6 weeks, Dave, I was in my room, didn't want to hang out with the teams. I'm like, man, am I really supposed to be here? And they brought me in late. I didn't get a call to come to camp until July. And this is my senior year. I had already graduated high school. So I wasn't one of those guys where I had offers, in my email. I only played 2 years of high school football. So they brought me in late. They said, hey, we're going to bring you in. Don't worry about anything. We'll take care of it for now, but you're going to earn your pay. I'm like, okay. we're going to look at your grades halfway through the semester. If you're good, we'll keep the scholarship in place. If not, bye. And I think that's passion at the end of the day was the answer. I just started working harder, man. There's no advanced answer I can give you, Dave. I just started working harder. I went to the weight room more than them. I ran more than them. I went to I went on the practice field more than them. I got more muscle milk more, I did everything I could. Everything I possibly could. I had a broken foot. I hid it, man. I hid so many injuries because I just didn't want anything to get in my way. I already had these humongous guys better than me. I think around this time, I was fighting back and forth for a second string at the time with another guy named Dantes. And Dantes, they went and got him. So it was on me to prove that I was supposed to be there because they felt like he was supposed to be there. And I took that as an insult because, yeah, man, he had the opportunity to play football all these years. I only got 2 years, but he doesn't work as hard as me. And things started to show. It started to show over time. He started getting lazy, arm tackles. He wasn't really breaking down on the tackle, whereas I drilled it, man. I drilled breaking down on the tackle. I would call smaller running backs to come to the field with me and say, hey, man, look, you're the smallest, most shiftiest guy on the field. If I can break down on you, I can break down on anybody. And my teammates loved it. I actually got better friends because they knew Gene was going to work hard. And I didn't come in there with, the full ride. I got the semesterly, I guess, treat. So that's the answer, Dave. How did I deal with it? I was depressed, and then I worked harder. And that's what we do. That's what we do now. We miss a lift. We get sad. We go home. We think about it for hours. Think about it for days. And then you know what? The next day comes and we say, you know what? I need to work a little bit harder.
How many years did you play?
So 6 years. And I got a practice squad look from the Seahawks. Didn't last long. But that's when I realized, okay, all right, I'm biting off more than I could chew here because those guys, it was different. It was a different level. Some of those guys were born to play football.
Yeah.
So it was a great opportunity. I love it. It was amazing. But the main thing that I learned from football is that the answer to your problems as an athlete is hard work. Yeah.
When football's over, your identity's got to change again.
I joined the Army.
Okay, is that how
I joined the Army?
Was that immediately?
Actually, I had joined the reserves. So I ended up being a transfer student. I started at Old Dominion. I joined the Army because I had a younger brother and he was just back home struggling. Things weren't good for him because he was still in the street. And I just realized I got to make a selfless decision.
How much younger was your brother?
Probably about 3 years.
So was he in the same foster care system?
Yeah, same foster care.
Were you together?
We didn't meet each other until we were 6 years old.
Oh, so you were divided.
Exactly. And the foster care system put us together. We didn't meet each other till we were about 6 years old. And it was something about the kid. We was at the playground and they wanted us to play together first. And then they said, hey, we just want to let you know that's your half brother. You guys have the same mom. So we want to reunite you guys. You guys going to a new home.
How old were you then?
6.
6.
Yeah.
How do you process that as a 6-year-old?
You don't.
Because that's young as fuck. I don't
know.
I can remember.
You just go eat some fucking candy and go. You go see fucking candy and go play basketball. That's what you do. You don't. I think these things started to hit me later in life. And that's what caused some of the legal issues I got into later in life. I didn't process these things, Dave, and I had nobody to tell me, hey, you need to process that. You need to sit down and figure that out. Work through that, man. And nobody was around to tell me to do that.
Yeah.
So it manifested itself negatively later in my life. So it was rough, man. But everything that happened back then leads to who I am now. And I love who I am now. I love myself. I have this self-love for myself where I don't get involved with certain things. I don't let certain people be around me now. You have no idea what I went through in my life. And I the silver spoon thing. It's these kids that come in the powerlifting gym and they have this silver spoon in their mouth, but they want to take it out of their mouth so hard. I'm like, you know how blessed you are to have 2 parents? You know how blessed you are to be in college? And you didn't have to fuck up your knees or your back to get to school, And that sounds horrible. Either way, if I put it that way. But you didn't have to fuck your body up. Your parents had everything put away for you. Stop taking this hardcore demeanor like you got all these oppositions in powerlifting, like, oh, I got to prove everybody wrong. And bro, just enjoy this. You don't want to feel like you think you want to feel. You don't want to know what it feels like to sit up at night questioning your self-worth all over a barbell, bro. You don't want to, kids these days have no idea what struggle really is. They have no idea. They grew up in a 2-parent home. Their first car is bought by their family. They get their first cell phone before they can walk. It's all these things they're afforded. And we're making this generation softer because of the things I went through. It made me a very hard-working individual. I don't mind getting up at 6 a.m. going to work. I don't mind 12-hour work days. I'm still going to the gym. I don't care if I got to work a couple extra hours to get that bill paid. Hey, babe, if you don't feel good, take the day off. I'll figure it out. But kids these days, they don't have that ingrained in them because everything has been, given to them. And I think the 90s babies are the last ones who knows what that truly feels like to not have everything. We did not have everything. I saw the internet come into play. MySpace was like the first social media, and I think me being born in 92, I was that last generation that said, man, I'm so glad we could all go to the park and not have any cell phones. No kid this day will ever understand what that feels like to ride 12 bikes around the neighborhood just to find somewhere to play basketball or play football. And I think that's what's messing up powerlifting. It goes into powerlifting. You guys play sports. You guys worked blue collar jobs. You guys had to do certain things outside of the gym just so you could get to the gym and have a comfortable life. And nobody has to go through that more. Everybody's worried about the aesthetic of things. They want the video edits to look good, and they want all the newest SBD stuff. And I'm totally fine going to the gym in a Walmart. I pulled my first 700-pound deadlift in a Gold's Gym Walmart belt. I did my first 3 or 4 powerlifting meets in a Cardillo bodybuilding belt. I didn't care about none of that stuff, man. I had Chucks. These kids got squat shoes and all these great brands. My first 2K total was in Chuck Taylors. I still have them. And as a matter of fact, at that meet, then they have staples in the bottom of Chuck Taylors. The staples were in my heels. On the squat, I can still feel it to this day. And I'm like, man, you need these squat shoes? I had knee wraps, but my knee sleeves were Walmart knee sleeves. I didn't get Enzers for a long time. And I love Enzer. Don't get me wrong, but they obsess over these small things and they think that's the answer. No, the reason why you're fucking weak is you. That's why you're weak. Your mind's weak. You've never been through anything. You've never seen any type of turmoil in your life. You've never been in a situation where you gotta make it happen. Nobody else is coming to save you. And I think that's what separates powerlifters now. Some of these powerlifters you see that are at the top, they have these battles and they have these struggles they had to overcome. And they probably won't ever talk about it. You'll probably never know about it, but there's a powerlifter right now watching this right now who has some crazy shit that they had to deal with years ago, and they still carry with them. I can't believe I made it out of that. Well, if I made it out of that, I could squat this 1,000 pounds if I made it out of that, And I think that's what we do. We don't take powerlifting for what it is. Powerlifting started as a way for us to work out our problems, and then it became a sport, and then now it's intertwined. And that's what I loved about you guys is at Westside. I knew you guys were going through shit. Guys sleeping in their fucking cars, moving 6 hours away just so they could train under Louis. Like, these are things that men do. They care about it so much they did these things. So what I will always try to do throughout my time powerlifting is remember my struggles. No matter how wealthy I get or how much money I get, I'm always gonna fucking remember that time where, I had to walk out on a senior field by myself. Or that time where I had to steal from Food Line because me and my brother didn't have any food to eat. I'm always going to remember those days because those are the things that I think about before I walk up to that lift. And that's why I don't have to worry about the skill, because I train the skill in the gym. I train the skill all week. It's not about the skill today. It's about me making myself feel a little bit better about my past by getting the lift. And that sounds sad, but hey, that's how I work. That's how I deal with it. How
was the transition from college sport to the military? Because college sport kind of is like the military because you're on a schedule, 4 a.m. practice.
Another humbling experience.
But it's a different level of schedule. So how was that?
It was tough, man. It was tough, and they don't give a fuck about who you are. I get there and I'm the biggest guy there, so they immediately start hammering me. I get off the bus. You get off the bus.
How big were you when you went in? What'd you weigh?
225.
Okay, so
I was 225 pounds.
Could have been worse. You could have been like 270.
Yeah, that too. But I think it's my height.
Yeah.
It was more so my height that kind of made me stand out. I was in a shorter boot camp class, but it was another humbling situation. Here I am, this Division I athlete, coming, and all these guys are coming from regular lives. Some of these people just got from, and I'm thinking I'm just high and mighty guy, and I get there and they're like, man, we don't give a fuck about you. Drill sergeant's like, oh, Mr. Football Player, and they made it a bad thing.
Oh yeah.
They wanted me to immediately realize that I'm not better than anybody here, and I'm actually worse. because we don't care about any of that. So the military definitely made me more humble, and it made me think more. It matured me to a level where I was happy for it. I don't regret any day I spent in the military. It was amazing. Not now with the way the government is now, but sometimes I wish I would have stayed in sometimes because I needed that discipline. But I also needed to get away from that discipline so I could be self-sufficient, because it was that discipline that was holding me together. You know, as soon as I got out the military, as soon as I got away from paramilitary organizations, my life started going to shit again because I didn't have that structure.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because see, college, you have that structure. High school, it was forming. There's kind of structure. Kind of. But it's more so than if you weren't in it. Right. And
right. Exactly.
Then college, it tightens up a little bit more. Then the military, it's tightened like a noose.
Right.
Right. And because they're going to.
And they beat it into you.
Yeah. Well, they want to break everybody down to the lowest common denominator and then start to build people back up.
Oh, they definitely broke me down, man.
Yeah. So then when you leave all that, there's
nothing.
Yeah.
It's a void.
So it's another identity crisis.
It was a void, and that's when I started getting into legal trouble. That's when the legal things started to happen, because now I'm just out here. I guess as we say, I'm out here. You know, I'm just out here doing whatever I want, doing whatever I need to do to get by. I have no pride. I already feel like I'm accomplished because here I am, you know, Afghanistan, United States Army, college football, all this other stuff. Like, I'm just lazy. And you know, I'm a young guy. I'm like 27, 28 years, you know. So I get out around the time where guys are normally making that decision to retire or, you know, and stay in for another 15. But it was just it was a shock to me once I got out. And I didn't want to
How did you find the weight room at that point?
Oh, good point. So this is a funny story. I got extremely addicted to partying. And I'm not talking about just the regular night out on the town drink. I moved to, and it started when I moved to Georgia. I moved to Georgia, and Georgia has some of the most dynamic nightlife you could ever get involved with. You get exposed to everything. So I was dating a girl at the time, and she loved to party too. So we're partying. I mean, I do everything under the sun, Dave. I'm telling you, everything that's out there on the street that you can go buy and put in your body to feel good, I'm going to buy it. Aside from, you know, the fentanyl and all this crazy shit, but definitely big on cocaine around the time. So I'm partying, man. I would, and she'll tell you, because we were friends around the time, but I would get my paycheck on Thursday. I would go buy 8-ball Thursday night. That 8-ball would be done by Sunday. I would go to I'll probably go to 2 parties every day from Friday all the way to Sunday. And I would have to be at work Monday morning, and I would come in there with shades on just like this, because there's no way you could see my eyes. There's no possible way I would let people see my eyes. One day I got really sick. I got extremely sick. I lost 30 pounds. I lost 30 pounds in probably like 4 days. And I said, man, I need to fucking change some shit. And it to the point where I couldn't even get out of bed. And it was bad. I was thinking drinking Theraflu, just trying to get it to go away. You know what? I said, you know what? I used to be a fucking athlete, man. I used to be United States Army. I used to be all this other shit. Now I'm out here partying, doing cocaine, meeting random people, you know, just going anywhere, doing everything, eating everything. I said, I gotta get it together. So I said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna get a gym membership and I'm gonna start working out again. And I walk into, shout out to my boy Mike. I walk into LA Fitness in Decatur, Georgia on Church Street. I'll never forget it. And there's this huge guy in the corner named Mike Noren, man. And he's over there doing like 675-pound deadlifts for reps. I'll never forget it. Now I walk in there and I'm like 220. And I'm like, what the fuck? So, Najee, I told you, Dave, I didn't care if you were stronger than me. I want to know how you got there. So I walk up to him like, hey, man, I want to learn that, man. You think we could work out together? I know you don't know me. I'm Gene. He's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck, man. What do you want in the bar? And I'm like, I really don't know. He's like, well, just start at 2 plates and we'll figure it out. So I started deadlifting, and that's how it happened. That's how it all started. I just started learning from him. I started soaking up every single thing. And it was some days where I'm like, man, you're fucking crazy. I thought some guys in college were crazy. Nobody was crazier than Mike Noren at the time. That's still to this day probably one of my, everybody has that one training partner that just kind of like, what the fuck? Mike was that for me. Because I'm like, man, he would do sets of 5 on 500-pound squats. He would fill up the leg press with all the plates he could. And I'm talking about deep reps. He's the knees all the way to his chest. He's grabbing 100-pound dumbbells and he's finishing with walking lunges with 100. And this is in the LA Fitness days. So I'm going to circle back to this. But remember, we're doing this in the LA Fitness. So you already know the benches are shit. Mm-hmm. The bars are horrible. And I trained there for about a year and a half. You know, and he started teaching me about the other things, the darker side of things like that. He's like, hey man, you'd be crazy if you know, you did this or you change these things, start eating, going to sleep. I said, you know, Mike, I'm gonna listen. And I think my deadlift went from 405 to 650 in a year and a half. And that's when I knew. I said, man, I like this, man. This is awesome. And I always knew about Westside versus the World. I always knew about Chuck V. Everybody knew about Chuck V back then. So I always knew about it, but I never thought I would be capable enough to do some of the lifts that powerlifting actually you had to do in powerlifting. But Mike was teaching me these things. I'm learning how to do all type of stuff, 200-pound dumbbells, all this crazy stuff I'm seeing him do. And that's what changed me. I stopped doing drugs because I had to be at the gym with Mike. I started going to work because I needed more money for food. I just started changing things outside because I started falling in love with this one thing. And it wasn't powerlifting, bro. It was just being at LA Fitness with Mike. It was training. Yeah. And I think that's what set me up for success in the sport, because I don't care if I never compete again, but if you tell me I can't go to the gym anymore, I'm going to fucking lose it. I'm going to lose it, man. I don't care if I never do another meet again, cool. But if you tell me I can't go to the gym and train anymore, that's going to devastate me, because that's what I fell in love with first. And these kids aren't doing that. They're not falling in love with the gym. They're falling in love with the aesthetics of the sport of powerlifting. And there's nothing wrong with that. We love powerlifting. We love what it is. But me and you both understand powerlifting is not just a platform. It's a way of life. You got to live powerlifting.
Well, that training also developed your base because it was more bodybuilding related, heavy bodybuilding related.
And that's what I always go back to, Dave. When I can't figure something out, I go back to bodybuilding, especially with my squat right now. I'm getting back on the hack squat. I'm getting back on leg presses, walking lunges. These are things that are starting to help me. And I'm mixing it in with other powerlifting things that I'm reading on the blogs with you guys. But at the same time, yes, I always revert back to those old days with Mike when I can't figure it out. And that's what got my base. I was stuck at 515 on bench for a long time. And I just broke it this year in February. I finally got 545. But it involved me going back to doing burnout sets of 405. I don't have to pause everything. Come on, let's truly work the lift until you're done. Let's truly grow some muscle. Let's add some size, maybe gain 15 more pounds. My first 2K total was at 280. I weighed in my last meet at 301 pounds. So that lets you know right there, going back to the bodybuilding, I'm still a firm believer bodybuilders and powerlifting training should not be that different. It should not be that different. And that's why we don't have the physiques in bodybuilding we did when you were coming up. We don't have the somebodies, and we don't have the Dennis Wolfs anymore, because those guys you hear about bodybuilders sharing flat bench, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Every single fucking bodybuilder before any of these guys came out flat benched. Look at Kevin LeBron. You think he built a chest like that just doing, they doing cable push press? And no disrespect, but what do you think that's gonna? They're doing single arm pull downs. And don't get me wrong, at the end of the workout, probably great. But bro, you don't see none of these coaches preaching barbell rows. And I did a lot of barbell rows. Like, how'd you get your deadlift like that? I'm like, bro, I do a lot of barbell rows, man. They're like, oh, well, you deadlift 800 pounds. Well, I can also barbell roll 500 for 10. You don't think that correlates anywhere, You don't think that translates anywhere? And it's sad, man, because I'm glad because Mike was born in the 80s. So I was born in the 90s. So it's like, okay, he's the older guy, and hey, look, stop doing this dumb shit. Don't get involved. And he'll DM me right away after my last meet, not my last meet, the meet before last. He told me, boom, bro, you've been training like a fucking bitch. This is not how you train. 1963? What is this shit? You just had a 2050 in February. What the fuck is going on? I said, well, Mike, I've been trying to help some guys. He's like, man, fuck that, man. Get back to what we were doing, man. Get back to going to a failure. I see you do 3 reps and rack the bar. I don't ever see you struggle anymore, And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And I was offended for a little bit, because of the ego complex. And I said, you know what? Maybe Mike's right, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Mike's training. So let me get back to what I used to do. And then my last total was 2023. So obviously Mike was right again. He's always fucking right. But yes, I honestly think powerlifters have gotten away from training like bodybuilders. And they think everything should be structured. There should be a certain amount of reps you do on this and for a certain amount of sets. And this is the way it should be. And if you do anything outside of this, you're not going to gain shit. And I'm like, bro, no. Man, what happened to just going in the gym and seeing what you got that fucking day? You know, what happened to going and loading some weight up on the bar and just seeing where you can take this? And nobody thinks like that anymore. And if they do, some of the guys, they don't post it. You know, they don't post it. I love Andrew House. I don't know if you've seen him, but I love watching him train, because you know that motherfucker's in the gym doing something at some point just to see where he can take his body. He doesn't care about shit. So now I'm getting back to that. I'm getting back to, all right, you did all your working sets. You did everything that was written today. Now put fucking 400 pounds in that bar, and I want you to, you know, get some energy from the gym and just fucking squat this shit till you can't squat anymore. And if you're not laying on the ground at the end of the session, you didn't do shit, you know? And, you know, of course you can't always do that. Going into a meet, you can't always do that. But if you don't have a meet that's 15 weeks out, come on, man. What are we doing? And everything, just scroll through Instagram, you just see, week 4, block 3, 3x3s, and that's all you see. And I'm like, holy fuck, bro. And then you see their total, and then there's this long ass paragraph of why they didn't reach their fucking goal. And I'm like, bro, fuck all that. The reason why you didn't reach your goal is because you didn't work hard enough. Just admit it to yourself. And the sooner you admit that to yourself, the sooner you can get depressed about it and address it. But they don't want to go through that phase. They always want to feel accomplished. Everything with powerlifting is about instant gratification. I want to feel like I'm the best of my peers, or I accomplished something great. I don't want to ever admit that I failed. Meanwhile, when you admit that you failed and you face that failure head on, that's what makes you extremely strong later on. And I don't mind. I was supposed to get 2K total on the USPA this year. I haven't done it. I failed it twice. I can sit here and say I won best lifter both meets, but they were local meets. I was supposed to win best lifter. You know, I'm supposed to be the strongest in the state at the time. But my goal wasn't accomplished. So I have to admit that level of failure, and I have to address it. Because if I don't, then I'll never accomplish the goal. These kids are scared of failing. People are scared of failing in the gym now. They will not post a fail. They will not talk about their failures. They will not talk about that set that they messed up, or when they dropped the bar, they won't talk about it. They'll only show you the good. And I think that's why social media has ruined powerlifting. It only shows the aesthetics of powerlifting. They think John Hack has a good bench press because he benches twice a week. I'm like, bro, do you know how much stuff John Hack probably doesn't even post on that fucking app, man? Like, do you know how much, like, even with Craig, Big Craig was up here. And I'm like, I know Craig, you don't squat 1,000 pounds by not going to a failure, you know? And don't get me wrong, I have all the respect for Craig's coach, but Craig coach believes as I believe. At some point in time, you got to test your body. You got to test your body, see where you can go and push the new threshold. But now, man, you see it, you don't want to, they don't want to talk about, yeah, I wanted 3, but it just wasn't there that today. And that's great. I love when guys say that. When they say that, I know they're recognizing it just wasn't my day. But then, the first rep moved faster than normal, so it's still a win. No, it's not a win. It's not a win. Don't call it a win. You fucked up. You failed. Own it. And let's move on to the next week. How can we win next week? But if you never address failure, you're always doing this with failure, like, no, I'm not going to address it. I'm never going to address the failure. Then you're never going to get stronger. And that's what I strongly believe, and that's what I think I benefit as a powerlifter. I don't mind addressing the fact that I failed in areas and I need to do better, you know?
How did your first meet come on the radar?
So I had a guy named Joe. He owns a gym in Georgia now. But Joe Franklin, he was a Atlanta police officer for about, I don't know how long. He just retired, actually, probably about 25 years. He's a bench only guy. And he just walked up to me in the gym and he said, hey man, why don't you enter this bench press meet? I said, okay. What do you have to do? He was like, well, you can't touch and go. You got to pause. You got to wait for the commands. So I registered for this meet in Alabama. Most people, their first meet is local. Mine wasn't. Mine was in Alabama. I did bench only. I ended up hitting 474. I tried to hit 500 pounds. I thought I was going to be that guy that first meet, 500-pound bench. Didn't go that way because I had no idea you had to pause. Holy shit, man. So I went there. I strained my pec on the third because I tried to just heave it. But then I realized, man, I went 1 for 3 in bench. 1 for 3 that meet, Alabama State Championships. And I fell in love immediately because now I have this thing now. I have this thing where I have to work really hard again. And I was just reawakened. So then I just started going really hard. I think 2 weeks later, I met Bill Clare. I don't know if you know Bill Clare. He owns the 365 Strong Federation. he used to have the multiply bench record before Jimmy Kolb took it. I think Bill Gillespie. There we go. Shout out to Bill Gillespie. He had the unlimited bench record before Jimmy Kolb had it. Jimmy Kolb broke it about 8 times. I don't know, probably more times now. But before that, Bill Clear, I found this, and that's me. I was at work just researching different powerlifting federations because I didn't want to be a part of one fed. I didn't see the fun in that. So I found 365 Strong. I registered for a meet. I went to North Carolina. Andrew House was still drinking. I think it's CrossFit Gym. It's some gym in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And I entered push-pull this time, so I added a lift. But it didn't start that way. I started bench only at first. So when I got to the weigh-ins, Bill was like, hey, man, you should enter deadlift only. You got a pretty good deadlift. I'm like, man, I never pulled raw before because Mike tore his bicep. So the only time we ever pulled was with straps. So I learned how to deadlift with straps. So I'm like, I don't know, Bill. I never deadlifted raw, man. I don't really deadlift raw. He's like, man, you'll be fine. Just keep your arms straight. Don't try to bend your arms. Just pick the weight up. I'm like, all right. So I get there. When I bench, and I finally got the 507, Dave. So I got a head full of steam going into deadlifts, and I start warming up. And I pulled my first 3 plates raw. And I'm thinking this shit's just going to pop. I'm like, man, my pop's just going to pop. I never pulled raw before. Nothing happened. So then I got to there. I opened at like 650 on deads. Ended up pulling 711 that day. But I took 4 attempts. The third attempt, a guy after me that was in my weight class got a deadlift higher than me, but I didn't think he should have got the shit. I thought it was fucking soft lockout. It was horrible. He slammed the bar, and it made me very angry, Dave. There goes that anger again. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. Do I get a 4th attempt? Like, yeah, well, you broke a record, so we can give you a 4th attempt. I'm going to show this guy how to pull. So I go up there, and I'm like, what did he just pull? And it was like 705. I'm like, yeah, give me 711. I'm going to chip him. And I pulled it that day. And people were asking, like, bro, what fed is that? Because I go up on a platform, I got a Scully on. Yeah. A black Scully, all this other stuff. I think I had no shoes on or anything like that. So I pick it up, I push the bar into the ground, and I slam my Scully, and the crowd went crazy. And Bill was like, man, you're going to be crazy because your energy is fucking crazy. So now every time I go to a meet, I don't know what it is about deadlift, man, but I just love that lift, man. I guess it replaced the cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, if you're enjoying what you're watching, make sure to take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, and now we're going to have some fun. I wanted to go through and kind of your origin story, right? Because a lot of that's going to play into
absolutely
some of the things that we were talking about. So now that we got that done, I want to jump back into a couple things that you were talking about. The one being the people who post their training block story or whatever the fuck we want to say it is on Instagram, like block 2, week 3, workout 4 or whatever it is, right? They'll post and they'll have a strength block, then there's a hypertrophy block, then there'll be a conditioning block. And I'm all for all that. I'm all for periodization, right? But the thing with the periodization, when you're laying these blocks out, if you have a hypertrophy block that you're going to before you go into your strength block, is they all start kind of easy, then they get hard. Right? That's how this works, right? So if you have a meet and then you have the 2 weeks after the meet where you're just trying to walk again because you're so fucking hurt. Yeah. And then you start training again after that and it's more bodybuilding oriented. You're not going in there on day 1 and doing the highest volume with the highest intensity because you're not in shape to even do it. Right. You're doing what you can do for that day, but then 4 weeks into that, 5 weeks into that,
you're feeling better.
Then you're hitting it and you're hitting it hard, right? This is what I've noticed with what you're talking about with the people that will post I just started this training block. Is they'll start this training block. You know, I need to do this hypertrophy block because I don't have enough muscle and I got to put more muscle on so I can be fucking strong. And then 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, well, it's time to do the strength block. And I'm like, motherfucker, you didn't even get deep enough in this block for it to be hard yet.
Yeah, man.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree. The muscle building never stops.
Yeah, well, then I'm starting the strength block, right? And then they'll get like 3 weeks into it. And it's like, I'm starting to feel a little fucking beat up. I need to go back to the conditioning block. It's like, motherfucker, you didn't even get hard enough. You didn't even start working hard enough in the block that you're currently in. So I call them block skippers. They just like skip around. And if all I had to do was the first 3 weeks of each training block that I've ever done in my life, it'd be the easiest fucking training I would ever do because it never scales up to be fucking hard anywhere.
Exactly.
You know, because good structured training is going to have deloads, and the deloads are kind of the introduction to the next fucking block that you're doing, but they never do that. They just stay in this perpetual train like a puss phase for the whole entire year. And as soon as it starts to get hard, it's like, ooh, man, this is hard. Something's not right. Something's not right. You know, maybe I don't have enough muscle. I got to go do the hypertrophy block. Or fuck, maybe I'm not strong enough to be able to really push the weights during the hypertrophy block. I need to go back and do the strength phase. It's like, no, motherfucker, you just need to work hard.
Work hard. And see, that's what you said it, man. See, here's the thing. I'm going to just say it like it is. Motherfuckers are pussy now. Okay, people are scared. They're pretending that they like the gym. They're pretending that they like weights. Some of these guys fucking hate the weights. We can't live without them, which means we can recognize a motherfucker from a mile away. Bro, you don't really like this. You're doing this because it's cool now. The gym is a trend now. If you haven't noticed, it's 100% trendy now. It's 100% trendy now. And if you're wearing the wrong thing, you're not wearing the right brands, you're not cool.
Well, it's a weird thing because it's great, right? More people should go to the gym. More people should work out, right? But the intent, and that's kind of what we're talking about with this repetitions, is the intent.
What is your goal?
Like some people understand this when I say it, some people don't. You can do 2 hard, heavy sets of 5, right? One of them is going to leave you fucked up for a week, right? The other one, you'll be able to train the next week, right? It's how you mentally are going to approach that, you know, how much intent you're going to be able to put into it. And the ones that learn how to put that maximum intent and then control it, because you can't do it week after week because you're just going to burn out, and learn how to control it are the ones that are going to succeed. But the ones that fake it, this is what I think we're talking about. You can see it. It's like, motherfucker, you're not putting that 100% intent into every one of these reps. And I can see it, and we can all see it. And not to sound egotistical, but you're not like us.
This is why I can't coach online. This is why I can't do the shit that these guys are doing. And nothing wrong with these coaches. I'm glad they can do that. I can't do that shit because I need to be able to see that you're putting something into this outside of physical force. Okay, it has to be more going into the fucking weight than just physicality. Yes. All right, bench pressing. Yeah, we're just doing this. What's going through your mind right now? You know, do you really want to get strong right now in this moment? And I tell my guys this every single time we walk in the gym together. Every single time you touch a barbell, it's an opportunity. It's not working out. It's not training. It's an opportunity. I don't see training as just training. It's an opportunity for me to get better. If you don't see it as an opportunity, you're not going to be grateful for it. We're grateful for opportunities. And if you're grateful for something, you're going to be very, 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 very meticulous about it on how you approach it. Motherfuckers are going to the gym and they'll just be there. Just be. They'll do bench press. They'll just, they'll walk through the motions of squat. They'll walk through the motions of deadlift, but there's no intent behind it at all.
And that's okay, but don't bitch when you don't make progress. Right? Because the intent that I believe that we're speaking about is what you want to see, because then as the coach and you're working with that person, you have to become the master of helping them learn how to dial it down. Right?
I got a guy right now, Chris, his spine or his lower back is always inflamed. It's inflaming. And I'm having that talking to him, hey bro, welcome to powerlifting. Your back's always going to hurt. Some way, shape, or form, you're going to be uncomfortable. But you know what? You also need to take pride in that feeling, because there's certain people right now that always feel great all the time. Do you think those motherfuckers are getting stronger? Do you think their bodies are changing where they need to change? And he looked at me, I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, does your body hurt? I said, my body hurts every fucking day I wake up. Something clicks every time I bend. My back clicks sometimes. Shit, my neck hurts. Something is in pain every single day. But you know what I tell myself when I feel that pain? I'm either getting old or there's something going on in my body right now that's changing. So that way the next time I do that, it's prepared. And they're scared of fucking pain, Dave. They're scared of pain. They love lifting. They want to get strong. They don't need to get strong.
I'm okay with all that, but don't bitch about the lack of progress. That's kind of all I'm putting out there.
Just quit.
Because when you're trying to mentor or coach the people, the ones you have to hold back, right, are the ones that are always going to be and reach their maximum potential. The ones you have to just keep kicking forward over and over, they're never going to reach their maximum.
I can't be a
potential.
babysitter, man. I can't be.
Well, it doesn't matter because they're never going to reach it anyhow. Now, over a period of time, they're going to be able to take their mentally fucked up brain and figure out how to use that, to be able to put in that intent that they need to put it in. And, on the sometimes you got to wonder if it's a heavy set of 3 or if it's a heavy single, or are you okay if during this set you die? Like, are you okay with that? Are you okay with during this lift if your aorta was just to fucking explode?
Have I not said that in the gym before? You got to be ready.
Are you?
I say that shit all the time. I'm like, hey man, you need to be ready to die right now,
and really and mean it, right? And I'm not saying that everybody needs to train this way. I'm not saying that. There's people that you want to
lose 10 pounds, cool. You don't have to die.
Yeah, I mean, just don't want to train, have fun training. That's fine. That's cool. That's not a big deal. But don't bitch about the lack of the progress if you're going to be in a strength sport and you want to push the boundaries of what your maximum potential is, because that takes more. There's a reason why it's the top 10%, because 90% of the fuckers won't do what's necessary to be able to get in that top 10%. That's why it's the top 10%. I
got to find that thing I posted, but I posted something about 100 people. You put 100 people in the room. All right. You put 100 athletes in the room. All right. Now, all 100 of them want to win. All 100 of them want to win. Now, you take them and you split them in half. 150, they know what they have to do to win. They're just not going to do it. The other 50 is willing to do it. So then you take that 50, you cut those in half. 25 of them think they are willing to do it. The other 25, they just realize, holy shit, I'm not willing to do it. So then you cut that number in half. All right. Now it's 25 of them. Now 10 of them are willing to do whatever it takes, no matter what, to get better and stronger today. They don't care if you push a plate of shit in front of them and say, hey, look, you got to eat that slow, bro. And you'll gain 100 pounds in your total tonight. And you know what? 5 of them will start eating. 5 of them will get up from the table. Out of the 5 of them, 3 of them will get sick and not make it. You want to know why? Because that's just what happens. We get hurt, right? Anything can happen. But 2 of them, they show up to the meet. Only 1 of them can win. And I tell people that. You hear that analogy? So you started with 100 people. You only got 2. And that's what it comes down to. Now, who are you? And everybody started hopping in my DMs like, oh my God, bro, goosebumps. And I'm like, bro, this is really how I think. When I walk into the gym, I want to be one of the 2 people. Matter of fact, I want to be one of the 5. Because you never know what's going to happen. I don't give a fuck if I get hurt. I don't care. I'm okay with getting hurt. If that means I did whatever I could do to get stronger, I'm okay. All right, it just happened. It wasn't my day. Shit. Something else is going to come along. But I want to be one of the 5. You can't be one of the 5 if you were never one of the 15. You can't be one of the 15 if you were never one of the 25. You can't be one of the 25 if you were never one of the 50. But you started with 100 people. Do you get how that works?
Yeah. Well, here's another way to explain that. If we're looking at a staircase of 10 steps to be able to get up, they've already climbed 8. They're training, they're going to the gym, they're consistent, their nutrition's on point, they're paying attention to their sleep. They have all these other things dialed in. You see it. They post the shit all the time. It's just they're not willing to take the last 1 or 2 steps, which is the intent, of everything that they do. Like, they can have the intent to make sure their sleep's good. They can have the intent to make sure their nutrition's good. They can have the intent to make sure all these other things are good, but but they're not willing to take the intent to make sure every repetition that they do is dialed in with the intent that they need to do to be able to, it's 1 more step.
Just 1 more.
But most people aren't willing
sometimes
to take
1 more inch, like football, it's a game inch.
Now, sometimes they just don't know. Right? But then once they learn it, it goes to the roof. And granted, there's other people, this is life, that have a fucking escalator and just step on it and get right up to the top, and there they are. They exist, those very fortunate individuals, and they piss you the fuck off, by the way. Yeah. If you're the one that trains hard and just tearing your body apart, and you can barely fucking move, and then this person just boom, and then they're breaking all-time world records, and they've never fucking been hurt and all this other kind of stuff. And great for them, because it just pisses you off to make you want to work harder to be able to push.
Have you heard about that kid, Devontae Lewis, the big kid? Oh my God, you haven't heard about him?
Tell me about him. I may have.
So Coach Greeno, you've had him on the show before.
Yeah.
He coaches him now. big guy, super heavyweight guy. And I'm going to say this, I'll probably get some backlash for saying this shit, but he's just as strong as Jesus. He is insane. He walked out 7. The first time I saw him on Instagram, and this is not a guy who posts a lot. You know, this is not a guy who's very out there when it comes to social media, but I seen him unrack 750 with one leg. You know, he had a staggered stance. He unracked it, walked it out, squatted for a set of 5, and walked it back in. And to me and you, we know 700 is a pretty serious number to be walking out and repping. He walked it out, repped it with ease. His first powerlifting meet, he squatted 1,000 pounds, Dave. I don't know how you don't know who this guy is.
I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, he squatted 1,000 pounds, but when I had a conversation with him, we talked a little bit back and forth, and I said, hey, bro, you know, you're gonna do some great things. He's like, yeah, man. He's just so innocent minded. He has no clue of all this stupid shit going on in powerlifting. He has no idea about it. And I love Reno for what he's doing because he's keeping them away from that. Yeah. He's saying, hey, stay around your people. And this guy, he uploads posts to Pink Pony. He wears pink knee sleeves. Just an awesome, cool guy, positive. But he's one of those guys. I don't know if he's been through some of the things in my life that I've been through, but he's just fucking stupid strong. And when I saw him, like, man, I need to start working harder. And that's exactly what he did to me. To see that is insane. Like, that guy's in 600-pound bench, no issue, no problem whatsoever. I think he actually just hit 600 on incline. He called it a side quest. He called it a side quest, bro. It's insane. The guy is absolutely insane, but he definitely lit a fuse under me because I'm like, man. And I don't know how old he is. He's young guy. But there are people like that come along in powerlifting. I'm like, holy shit. Like, bro, what in the world? I didn't even know that was even possible. What have I been doing wrong? Yeah. And I asked him, I said, hey, bro, how long you been lifting? He said, man, for a long time. I didn't care, man. I was just lifting. I didn't really care about doing meets. I just like going to the gym with my friends and working out. I'm like, man, I wish that's how it started for me. I wish I didn't have some type of turmoil going on that pushed me in the gym. I wish I would just walked in like you did. But you're right, Dave. It's always that one person who not necessarily had to do what we did, but they just one raindrop is more effective to them than it is for us, which is crazy.
See, we were speaking earlier about as you get older, you kind of learn what your minimal effective volume is, right? Where I come from a bias in a school of thought that the only way you can do that is to know what your maximum effective dose is. You know, optimally during a time period where you can get away with it. You know, in your 20 years where you can kind of push hard.
Oh, I'm learning that lesson now too.
Because the one thing, if I'm looking at somebody's program, and if we're talking about that intent, you know, how hard they push all those reps, and I see somebody's training day has 9 different movements in them with all but 2 of them being like compound lifts. No fucking way that they're training each one of those movements with maximum impact. There's no way. It's way too much, especially if they're using anabolics. There's way too much work to be done in there. So when I see it and I'll see that, I'm like, dude, you did 10 fucking movements, like 2 of them side raises, curls, whatever the fuck, right? Wash those out. But those other 8, if you were training them with real intent, no fucking way. No way you would be able to do that, because I can take somebody on the flip side of that knows how to train with that super intent. And after the first 3 compound movements, they are done. Absolutely done. So that means you just basically whitewash the whole day just to check box.
Going through the motion.
The sets and reps.
Going through the motion.
Great if you're in a conditioning phase and you're trying to increase volume slowly over a period of time. Fine. But if you're perpetually always doing that, then I question your work capacity, you know, how hard you're putting into each one of those things, and would challenge anybody that's doing a program like that to take the first 2 movements of that program, go train with somebody that really knows how to train hard, and see if you get past the first 2 exercises.
I have guys in my hometown that I've invited to train many times, and they don't show. They'll say a million times to me, hey, Gene, I got to work out with you, man. I can't wait to train with you, man. Your energy is crazy. And I'm like, bro, I understand that, but understand when you come here, I respect your coach, but some of that shit's going to go out the window, because your coach can't be here to see what you're doing right now. You may need more, you may need less. Your coach will never know, because he only sent you an email, which is cool. And I really respect the coaches who can do that and still get all-time world record holders, because they know their shit. But me, I don't know my shit like that. So I got to be able to see that you can understand that. So then I've had guys that came work out with me and I never saw them again because they understand that, hey, bro, this is how you actually train and this is how it feels to get better. Did you know that? And they say, holy shit, no. So that's why I can't be a coach, because I need to understand that you like the feeling of getting better. A lot of these people don't like the feeling of getting better. And that's what you said. They go in there and hit 9 movements. They don't like the feeling of getting better. But if we could do
or have they redefined what getting better is?
And I feel like that's where you cross the line of delusion.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because what is really getting better? We're in powerlifting, right? Did the numbers go up? No. We don't care about, I mean, your body weight's cool. That's cool. The formulas, that's cool. But did you get stronger? Yes or no? No, then you didn't get better. And I keep my world black and white in powerlifting when it comes to that, because that's what works. All these scientific things that they got going on in fucking powerlifting is great. I like it. Oh, well, the rep move faster. Oh, well, I hit this at a lower body weight. All of that is cool. But we're in the business of getting fucking stronger. So did you get stronger last meet? No. Doesn't matter if you won the meet. You didn't get better. Because winning the meet is about who shows up, who registered. You know what I'm saying? If certain people register, you're not going to win anyway. But if certain people don't register, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, your goal should be the end all be all. What is your goal? Oh, I wanted to add 10 pounds to my bench, 5 pounds to my deadlift, and 20 pounds to my squat. Did you do that? No. Then we got to go back to the fucking gym, bro. And we need to work a little bit harder. So what is getting better? I guess you can define that as a lifter. You can define that. But in the sport of powerlifting, did you get stronger? Where are you on open powerlifting on the all times list? Me personally, I'm obsessed with totals. I like totals. I don't really care about dots. I mean, because I feel like people are getting a reward for staying small, and that's fine. We're in like I said, I fell in love with your era. So your era was, well, if you missed the lift, get fucking bigger, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm still stuck on. If I missed the lift, let's add some muscle, let's get a little bit more jacked, and let's go back and go get it again. And that's the beauty of all this. But now we've overcomplicated it and we've defiled it with all these other crazy things. Well, my blood sugar was this the last time I hit this. Now my blood sugar was that. I only got 6 hours of sleep last time, but this time I got 8 hours of sleep, so it's a win. I'm like, bro, we're trying to make everything a fucking win now. Again, it goes back to delusion. Don't be delusional. Be real with yourself. Did you get better? Yes or no? Just don't lie to yourself right now. It's a yes or no answer. If you cannot definitively say yes, then it's a no. And that's it. And that's how you become stronger. That's how you become bigger. And that's what's worked for me. Will it work for everybody? I don't know. But that's just how I define getting better.
Now, if we add one component here to that, and that would be, you have to make it to the meet.
Oh, absolutely.
That, right? So you have to, because usually the best performance in the meet's usually going to be done by the person that's the least fucked up. Right, getting into the meet. Now, assuming that the traits of training hard enough are into play, then as you progress through your strength, how do you go about dialing back? How do you go about going into the meet the healthiest you possibly can?
Well, what I do is I stop training for a certain amount of time.
Well, I know that, but outside of the deload, so as you're peaking for the meet.
Oh, I pull movements.
Yeah.
So to answer your questions, I pull movements. I'll say, okay, all right. I mean, naturally, and what Louis taught us was, as time goes on, less sets, heavier weight. You know what I'm saying? We want to keep that physical conditioning. We want to hold on to it as much as we can, but at some point in time, we got to let it go, because now it's about numbers. So what I do is I always remember and go back to the teaching. Focus on the numbers now. That 5 weeks out part, I strictly need to put a certain number on the bar, and I need my body to feel it. And I need to say, okay, did I get the lift? All right, do 2 back downs and get your ass out of the gym and leave. It's hard to do that, Dave. You know that.
Yeah.
You had a bad day. You want to go fucking 10 by 10. Maybe your boss pissed you off and he doesn't even fucking lift. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's what I do. I start understanding. Here's a quote from Curtis Leslie. When he told me, it was like 9 o'clock at night and I was benching, but I was 5 days out. And, Curtis is a great bencher. So he said, hey, man, it's awesome that you hit 500 5 days out from your meet. Let me tell you a quote somebody told me a long time ago. You can't get stronger 2 weeks before a meet, but you can definitely get weaker. He said, so remember that for your next meet. I went to the meet and fucking missed 500. And as soon as I missed it, I'm like, damn. Because as soon as I unrack it, as soon as you unrack it, like, oh, fuck, I'm hurt, man. So now I'm learning to time it, and I think my key right now is last deadlift 12 to 11 days out, last squat about 8 days out, last bench about 6 or 7 days out, and then I just kind of let it rock out. But I pull the bodybuilding shit, man. You gotta pull it out. You gotta let that muscle, you gotta let that joint. And a lot of people think it's just muscle, but there are ligaments and things in there that need to repair too before a meet. And people forget that too. They think just because their muscle is feeling good, that the elbow is okay. And look, maybe you need to give that a little bit extra time.
Well, this is the a tricky thing, because that's essentially how you peak for a meet, right? But one of the other things that we'll see happen is, while they're not peaking for the meet, say they're in the off season, more of a strength or hypertrophy type of phase, it may be injury, time, work. There may be some constraints that fall into somebody's life that makes it so they can't be in the gym as much. So they kind of accidentally pull all those things out because life happens, and they just they know they need to get the main thing done. But then they get stronger when they do that. And then they think, oh shit, I don't need to do all those other things. Right. But they don't realize what they just did
from it, bro.
Is they indirectly peaked. Right. And I think this is why you see a lot of the supplemental work falling out of a lot of programs over a period of time, because they'll read, hey, maybe I don't need to do this other stuff, not realizing what phase of the year their training falls in. So then they pull it and like, holy shit, I'm way stronger. Like, yeah, no shit. This is the same thing that you do when you peak for a meet. So what are you going to do when you peak for the next meet? What are you going to pull out? Because you're already peaking.
So I think my next meet, my strategy is this. I need a stronger lower. And what'll happen is I'll do some of those things further out. I'll do some of those things further out for the meet. My bench has been extremely inconsistent the last couple meets. I had a 507, 512, 515, 512, 530, 512, 545. But this meet, I need 550. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to do exactly what you said. I'm going to kind of let things breathe for a while. I'm going to still stay heavy on bench, but let it recover. I don't let things recover, and that's my problem, man. I think that's the last piece of immaturity that I have in me left when it comes to this. I don't recover properly. I want to do it again. As a matter of fact, 3 days after my last meet, I was in the gym with 200-pound dumbbells and got pissed because I had to drop them because my shit was so inflamed because of the straight bar. You know how that does us. And I get mad at myself, and I'm slowly starting to realize, hey, bro, you're 4 days out from a meet. Even my girl has to tell me, you just had a meet 4 days ago. You're not supposed to do that, man. You just maxed out bench. You did a full power pull. You PR'd your all-time deadlift. Man, let it breathe. So I'm at that point now where, okay, I need to listen to my body, which I hate listening to my body to an extent. I only listen to my body before the meet, though. Right now, I'm at a pace. I don't have a meet in sight right now. So right now, I'm going balls to the wall. My goal is to be able to hit the lifts that I hit in the meet without being peaked. And that's the main goal right now. So I think you're right. I think people indirectly forget that when you stop doing things for a while, it recovers. For example, how many times you guys pull off the floor at Westside?
Rarely.
Really?
Why do you have the 200-pound dumbbells in the training program during that phase? Just curious.
That's something that me and Mike always did. Is
it for hypertrophy? Is it for the bottom of the bench?
Both. For some strange reason, Dave, my bench is what it is. I read a lot of Pat Casey. Read a lot about Pat Casey and how he was using heavy dumbbell press, low volume to get a bigger bench. And what he historically did in powerlifting is crazy. So I adopted that same style, and it translates great. After I've done some crazy amount of dumbbell work, I'll go bench after. That has been extremely effective. I urge anybody who's struggling on bench to do that first. Go work some heavy ass dumbbells first to failure. Now, naturally, you're not going to be able to bench what you want to bench when you get to bench. But when you switch it back and you put bench first, the amount of control and tightness you can maintain, we both know heavy dumbbells are harder.
Yeah.
They're harder, more range of motion. You need more stability. You're using muscles that you normally wouldn't use on a bench press. So what I'm going through right now is a phase of heavy dumbbells first. My last bench day was last Wednesday, where I had 200-pound dumbbells and I hit 2 sets of 150. Then I did chain bench after that with a 1 board, which is great. That's awesome, because I know today I should feel very good on bench. You know, we'll see. But
yeah.
But I know if you do that, it's just the way it's. I can't really explain it in a scientific way. I need some time.
No, I get what you're doing. So you're putting it in there mainly for stability.
Exactly.
Right. And so those dumbbells are not in there purely just for the hypertrophy work. It's in there for the strength and the stability. When you go back to the straight bar, the reason I asked is sometimes I'll see the dumbbell press is just exclusively put in for hypertrophy.
No.
Right. And if it's exclusively put in for hypertrophy, it's, you know, a bottom
130s, 150s.
Well, yeah, it's a end of the day exercise, right? And then I'm like, why in the fuck are you using the 200s? Just use the 90s and go slower and flex harder and get a bigger stretch. You know what I'm saying? It's sometimes I'll see those bodybuilding movements being put in for bodybuilding reasons, but then trained way too heavy for the application that it's put in the program. Lack of intent, right? So if the intent's the hypertrophy and it's a bottom movement,
we always want to get stronger. And I think that's why.
Yeah.
Every single thing I do is to get stronger and bigger. All right. There's not one time where I walk up to a movement and say, I just want to get stronger. I don't need to gain muscle on this. No, I don't know why people do that in the gym. Every time we touch a barbell, the intent is to get stronger and bigger. Every single time. If that is not your goal and mindset, welcome to all weights, you've already failed already. Come on, you need more muscle to move weight. Bottom line. So if you miss the lift, I'm telling you right now, if you add more tissue, it's probably going to move great. So I never touch dumbbells with the intent of just getting stronger or just getting bigger. It's always both. It's always both, because that's what dumbbells do. If you didn't know that or not, that's what they do. Now, I'll still hit dumbbells after. They'll be 150s, like you said, something I can actually maintain for volume. But if they're coming first, best believe I'm going to go find the heaviest set in the gym, and we're going to burn out there. And then we're going to go touch dumbbells. My whole motto, I always tell my guys, is if you can do it tired or you can do it fatigued, imagine when you're fresh. You're fresh at the meet. We don't need to be fresh in the gym. You know?
So one of your topics here was tested versus untested powerlifting.
Fuck, here we go, Dave.
Yeah.
This is what I was waiting on. Man. So I don't know if you know, are you aware of the divide right now?
No, I don't pay attention.
Yeah.
What's it?
Don't. Man. You'll be balder than you are now. You know?
Well, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. This is how I explain it, is just stay on the trail, you know, stay on the road. You don't want to see what's behind the curtain, because if you see what's behind the curtain, then it ruins it ruins the sport for a lot of people.
You're smart.
You know, so
keep that up, Dave.
Stay with the tin man and the straw man.
For some strange reason, we have powerlifters who only think untested lifters are strong because of the gear. Believe it or not, you'll literally see it. Some guys literally think that I have the total I have because I've taken tests. And I'm like, man, if you only knew, you don't have to sleep beside a blood pressure monitor every day. You know, you don't have to get bloods every other month. You don't have to do none of the things I have to do. You just got to go eat, sleep, and lift. Now, I'm not blaming anybody for the path they take, but there's a huge divide in powerlifting right now where untested powerlifting is not getting the respect it deserves from tested powerlifting. We are being disrespected sometimes in most situations. Our accomplishments are being very belittled. Not that we give a fuck, because we don't give a fuck, but it's just crazy how the divide is what it is now when nobody back then gave a fuck. Nobody cared. You could be taking something nobody knew. You know, you're strong. But now it's like, and I mainly deal with it, not mainly in the grand scheme of things when it comes to powerlifting, but in my hometown. There's a huge divide right now. We have gyms right now who don't allow untested there, or if they do, they're very, very meticulous about what they're doing in the gym. They're staring at them. They're over their shoulder, making sure they're not doing certain things. And they're always looking at them weird, signing them. I just had my friend Kyle telling me, they look at me weird in the gym. He's an untested lifter. Just got his first 2K total. I'm like, yeah, man, I understand, man. Just understand you're untested. That whole gym is known for tested lifters. They host USAPL meets. They host Powerlifting America meets. And, it's just very daunting.
So how do they deal with the problem of untested lifters that aren't using PEDs, or tested lifters that are?
They're delusional and just say they don't. They just say, hey, you're untested, so you're on the drugs. They have no idea that there's this whole drug-free life on our side of powerlifting.
Yeah.
There are so many guys right now. The guy who just won USPA Nationals tested, Mike. I've seen guys on Instagram accusing him of using all type of stuff. Guy just had a kid. Just literally had a newborn. I'm like, all right, well, if this guy was really juicing like you guys said he is, he wouldn't be popping out babies. You know what I'm saying? But they just assume he's taking stuff because of the federation that he competes in. When, you know, I'm the average juicer. I can look at him, I can tell, yeah, that's a natural.
Yeah.
He's a natural guy.
I know coaches that work with tested powerlifters to help them beat tests.
Man, look.
It's the fact. I'm not saying they all are. I'm just saying that this becomes a very dicey conversation.
I've seen people and you know, what did we draw the line, Dave? You heard about Ray Williams? He just got suspended for a blood pressure med.
Did he really?
And I thought it was the most absolute bullshit I had ever read. Now, mind you, I'm big on blood pressure meds.
Yeah, no shit.
You can look at me and tell, hey, my worst side effect is blood pressure.
I'm sure for him it is too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if Ray Williams is going to be popped by now, it should have happened. But for him to finally get suspended over a blood pressure med in the age that he's at, Ray's in his 40s now?
Mm-hmm.
Of course he's on fucking blood pressure.
Of course. I mean, he's fucking responsible.
But they suspended him for it, man. They suspended him for this. You know, so now I don't know what's going on with the tested side of powerlifting. You know, they just banned, I don't know, you probably haven't heard about this, but Powerlifting America banned every other sleeve but SPD sleeves for a long time, for a couple months, and then they had to renege on the ban now. It's just a bunch of shit happening on the tested side that just makes me upset for those lifters, man. I feel like, hey, look, you know, I always say this all the time. Hey, look, guys, there's a whole tested side on this side of powerlifting, not involving those two feds that you can enjoy. And we pay people more. There are more paid situations on our side of powerlifting than there are on tested side. The Shaq Pound Showdown has like what, I don't know, $5,000 payout. I think they just announced the American Pro that has a crazy payout. They got the Surge up there with Edward Blair, great lifter, that has a crazy payout. And these are people that are paying tested lifters too. I'm like, why are you guys subjecting yourself to that bullshit? They banning people because they use a certain type of knee sleeve. Are we serious? And I don't know. I have a huge amount of respect for Ray Williams, man, because what he's done for powerlifting is insane. The run he's been on is insane. So to see him disrespected in that manner, and you guys know that this to be, they have the name of the drug, Dave, in the report. It's a certified prescribed blood pressure med, and you banned him anyway. And a total spit in Ray Williams' face, in my opinion. I honestly think he should be done with that side of powerlifting. He should come over to our side. He has nothing left to fucking prove over there, right? Nothing left to prove. And come to our side. That's the same thing I said about Blaine Sumners. You know, Blaine. Like, fuck those guys, man. You guys are strong no matter how it goes. No matter what side no matter what side of the coin you guys look at, you guys are fucking strong. Don't subject yourself to that bullshit. Because right now with Powerlifting America and USAPO, they got some fucking ego complex going up with the higher ups, and it's affecting the lifters, man.
It shouldn't, because it's kind of like fucking politics, and what is politics, right? And that is, there's a hierarchy of things that we can control, right? If I'm looking at the hierarchy of the things that are important that I can control, my health is probably first, because without that, I can't take care of my wife and my family, right? So my wife and my family would be second, my business would be third, my local community would be after that, then my state, then all the way up to the fed. So the federal shit means absolutely dick to me, because I can do very little to control that except vote, you know, every couple of years. And what's that really matter with all that? But as I get closer down here, I can control what I fucking eat. I can control how I train. I can control, you know, all the things with my health, right? So this is what I see that happens, you know, in a microcosm in the powerlifting is, people love to talk about the federal politics and all the other kind of shit. They love to talk about all this other stuff, but is your own fucking house in order? Because most of the time when you look back into it, it's not, because the only respect that matters is self-respect, right? And a lot of people don't want to work on that. And it's much easier to bitch about all these other things because it makes the lack of the self-respect feel better to them, because it's not their fault. Right. But it's it is because of this. You see what I'm saying? You can control. And that's what I keep telling those lifters. Look, stop paying that yearly shit. Move on. Or just accept it. You know what I'm saying? Because on one side, it's a weird thing, because if somebody comes in to the sport, say as a teenager or as an IPF lifter. That's all they know. That's their community. That's where they train. You know, that's their family, more or less. You know, it's very hard to sit there and say, fuck all my training partners, fuck my gym, fuck my family, fuck the people I've been training with for 10 years. I'm going to go over here with all these people that I don't even know. Right? I get that. Right? That's right. I get that.
Community. Yeah.
That's community. Right? I get that. Well, then just accept, you know, your community's got issues the same way every community has issues, the same way every family has issues. But at the end of the day, how does that impact the meet you're training for right now? Like, honestly, how does that impact this training week? And how does yes, it might impact what meet you do next, but where you are right now, how does it really impact that? That gets back into the things that you can't control. It's like, quit bitching about all these things you can't control and get your fucking training in line, right? Take self-accountability for your own shit.
And put yourself in position to be successful.
Yeah. My squat's going to suck because I can't use the fucking sleeves I used to use. So what? If go to a different federation to be able to do that, or just get fucking stronger.
Boom. And that's what you just said, Dave. I've been preaching this since I started powerlifting, and it's finally starting to happen now. It's finally starting to happen. I'm not saying I'm responsible, guys. I'm not saying I'm responsible. What I'm saying is, when I first got into powerlifting, all I heard about was the USPA. And I love the USPA. It's an awesome federation, professional standards. Steve and those guys have really figured it out. With all the background bullshit that went on with the USPA a couple years ago with WRPF, they figured it out, and they played their hand right. Everything is great, but I refuse to cling to one federation. Do you want to know why? Because I don't have to subject myself as a lifter to anything I don't want to. Right now I have a yearly federation membership in 5 different powerlifting federations. Because at any given time, if I don't like the way some shit is going, fuck that.
At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the meet director that runs the meets that you have the best time with.
Bingo. So why are you clinging to a symbol? Cling to good meet directors. Me personally, I like doing meets where the meet director at some point in time was a badass on a platform. You want to know why? Because those are known, like Valerie Smith out there in Georgia. She directs Barbara. I know you know Barbara, deadlift queen. They direct meets for USPA in Georgia. I love doing their meets this year. I did both of their meets 2 months apart. Stupid idea. I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. Body felt like shit for months. But I love those meets because those meets were hosted by hardcore lifters. Valerie just won nationals, you know? So when I see guys going to these meets where the guy looks like a fucking string bean and he looks like he rides bikes on the weekends and hangs out with the friends and drinks beers at the bar, and then you cry about some shit going down at the meet, I just go look at you and go, well, yeah, he's not one of us, motherfucker. He doesn't know what you need. He doesn't know that you can't warm up for deadlifts on a power bar in the warm-up room and then come out and put on a kabuki bar. He doesn't know that. He doesn't give a fuck either because you gave him his money. And that's all he cares about. And that's the problem with powerlifting now. Meet directors are they care more about how many lifters they get in the meet versus the quality of the fucking meet.
Yeah, but the lifter can control where they compete.
Exactly.
And I think I did my first meet like 82. And I can say, you know, and there were a handful of federations, maybe 3 or something, maybe 1.
What was it? USPF was still around.
USPF. And my point is there's a lot of federations, and not one federation, not one, has not been fractured to a large degree that's impacted, you know, the whole sport. Not one is unscathed or innocent or the best at treating their lifters. Not one. Not one. You know, people could make the argument that the IPF for a while till this Powerlifting America fracture happened. It's like, boom, boom, there. Now everyone, and there will be new ones to form.
Absolutely.
Right? Because anytime somebody gets pissed off in one federation, like, fuck this, I'm going to start my own. Then they start their own.
Well, look at Johnny Lane with the USP.
Yeah. And then it will be a good federation until they get older and they no longer compete and they don't keep active lifters as part of the committees to be able to make decisions. Then the federation's going to suck, right? Then a new one's going to... It's been going on forever. It's not fucking new. You know, so my advice to any lifter is you look at open powerlifting, like, where do you rank? Move up the ranks. You know, if you're ranked at like 300 for your weight class in open, like, don't go filter the fucking thing down. Look at the open for whatever sleeves, raw, wrap, multiply, whatever the fuck it is. for your weight class. Look at the full list. Like, don't truncate it by fucking teenager or master.
I seen a guy use gender one time.
I mean, you can truncate this down to where it's a fucking list of 10 people. Like, have the full list and be like, okay, you're 350 or whatever it is. Well, next year, be higher than that. Get in the top 300. Get in the top 200. And just fucking do that, because that's what you can control. And then once you get up there to the top 10 or 20, yes, it's going to become more strategic. If it's raw, if it's multiply, single ply, it's going to become more strategic only because the numbers are smaller. There's a smaller number of lifters, and it becomes harder to figure out where to go to compete against the best people because there's not that many.
It's not.
You know, it might be 15, 20 people.
I'm at the point now where I'm trying to get strong enough to be competitive with ABS. Have you heard about them?
Mm-hmm.
ABS to me, they came over here and they just started doing some amazing things. My boy Zeus, who owns a gym in Virginia Beach, is actually going to be hosting the Reach Rumble at his, at a venue in my hometown of Virginia Beach. But one thing I've learned about them, and one thing I respect about them, is this is something, I don't know if you know Zotto, out there in Canada. He's the strongest Canadian. He's got the strongest Canadian of all time, total. And he said to me, we were talking because he was giving me some tips on my squat. And he said, you know what I like about the ABS, Gene? I'm like, what? It's like, they told us that our biggest totals won't happen at this meet. I said, wow. And that really stuck with me because I'm like, it's competitive. You see Zach Myers, you see Sir Dave going there, and you see Fernando. Those guys are going there, and these are the strongest in the world, but they're not PRing their total. They're not getting crazy PRs on their total. Why? Because the standards. Yeah. They're trying to make a strict standard, consistent standard, and they want people to know if you win this meet, you won.
Well, they want to win. And where a giant misconception comes with all this is, let's just say there's 3,000 or 4,000 lifters per weight class. With these meets that you're talking about, there might be 25 or 30 per weight class that are even qualified to compete at that level, which means there's thousands of competitive powerlifters that are not at that level. So people need to remember that is the sport, right? When they're bitching about the politics and they're bitching about all the other kind of stuff, what's happening is you're letting the top 1% of each weight class dictate how this sport is going to operate. So if you're going to do that, and you're going to do that with confidence, and you're going to stand on your pedestal and do that, then be completely fucking okay if you think our federal government can be dictators. Mm-hmm. And make the rules for everybody else.
And that's what I said. I'm like, look, man.
Because that's the same fucking thing.
You should only want to go to that Fed to win that meet.
Well, yes. Well, exactly. But it's when these people are speaking for all lifters, this is where I'm going here. When they're speaking for all lifters, they got to understand that they're in the vast minority.
Of course.
And when these same people will make these grand statements for those type of things, and then I ask them, are you okay if all the governors of each state made all the rules for the state without any voting? They're like, fuck that kind of shit, all this other kind of stuff. I'm like, well, that's exactly what you're saying here. Now, there is a time and place. I get that. I like those big federations, but that's why I said for all those people that are powerlifting, because this is 99% of powerlifting is those people not qualified for this.
Of course.
Right? Without them, powerlifting does not exist. They need to find the meets they have the most fun at. They get the most support, they have the best community, because those are the meets that grow the sport. Those are the meets that matter. Those are the meets where you see people break PRs, and it might just be 3 plates on each end of a deadlift, but they just overcame leukemia or cancer.
Did you see what the USPC is doing? They got a para. They got a para division.
Yes. Everybody's got
amazing.
A story.
Yeah.
Right. And some of these stories are way more impressive than the all-time world record story. But when you get to that level, that's where I said it gets dicey. When you get to that level, now you got to navigate, and The raw side does a really good job of this, by the way, of kind of navigating like where are we going to go? Because you notice that the premier meets each year are usually never the same federation.
Never.
Which means all these lifters got to communicate with each other. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to?
And that's what man, I swear, Dave, that's what they're doing, man.
Yes.
Because as soon as American Pro announcement came out, I'm talking about a bunch of stronger lifters that I saw. Zach, he reposted it. His girl reposted it. I'm like, man, there's a community up there with that 1%.
Yes.
And they know, all right, we're all going to go to this meet and we're all going to try to win.
And they're not federation tied.
And they don't care.
They just
don't
want to compete
care.
against you see what I'm saying? But so if you want to, if you're a lifter that's not at that level and you want to aspire to be like the lifters at that level, look at how they pick their meets.
They pick whatever's best for them.
Yes.
And that's what I'm so glad I did. I'm glad. I got 4 2K totals in 3 federations. APO just started back up, who's connected to WPO. I thought it was the coolest shit ever, so I jumped in the meet. But then I learned about the meet director named Hampton. And he's a lifter. He loves lifting. He competes. I had a great time at that meet, man. I had a great time at the meet. It wasn't even enough lifters there for a best lifter. I didn't give a fuck about that, man. It was a good time. Just like all other meets. I go where the community's best. When I go to Alabama, I already know it's going to be a great meet. Those people care about powerlifting. They get in there and they yell and scream and get drunk and do crazy stuff. So I love going there to compete, but not everybody agrees with how I do powerlifting. Some people disagree with 365. They like, oh, well, 365 is your back. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about the backyard pro that's happening with the SPF. JP Carroll was getting wind of all the people calling the SPF the Backyard Federation. And he always responds with satire. He's always he's probably another one of those guys who've been through a lot of things before powerlifting. So you say, you know what, fuck that, I'm gonna create the Backyard Pro. And he created the Backyard Pro, but he has these crazy payouts. I think first place he's like $5,000. But he owned that identity. Because he's like, hey, look, you're calling us the backyard, you're trying to demean us, but people have more fun at our meets. More spectators come. We have more lifters. We pay more money. And I said, man, I respect that. I respect that because now you have these big time people. It all started with Tyler breaking the squat record. I don't know if you heard about that. Joe Sullivan squat record. My friend Tyler Tier, who lives out there in Texas, broke the squat record. Everybody has something to say about the depth. And Greeno was one of the main ones. He got on Instagram like, man, we shouldn't let certain videos need to be submitted to a committee. And I agree with Greeno to a certain extent, but I also thought Tyler's depth was fine. I thought it was fine. It's a crazy angle. We can only see certain angles on Instagram. And that's how the whole thing started. Now they have certain federations they designate as backyard feds, which I think is crazy. But now we're starting to own it. Yeah, of course. We're the backyard boys. We don't care. We like old school powerlifting. We like hardcore powerlifting. We like people getting knocked upside the head in the warm-up room and then going out and hitting a crazy lift. We like loud music. We like things being broken. We like rowdiness. That's what we like. Fuck the clean carpets. Fuck the lime streams. We don't care about that. We're here to lift and get strong and show people we've been working and hurting all year to get stronger. So there's two sides of powerlifting right now. There are people who cling to this glamorous star power type federation thing, and then they have people like me who I really don't give a fuck, man. Are these numbers going to open powerlifting? Will there be 3 certified judges there? Cool, let's go.
See, I would say if there's 2 sides, those 2 sides are the people that care about the 1% and don't give a fuck about the 99%. Then the other side that cares about the 99% and doesn't give a fuck about the 1%.
I think I care more about the 99%.
Right, because if you're talking about a meet where somebody squatted high, let's say there's another 100 lifters at the meet. So why are you going to discredit the other 99 lifters that lifted in that meet that you never saw their squats and then say that this meet was bullshit because this one person squatted high?
That was the whole thing. So is every squat in the SPF of all time ever been high?
Yes. Well, those would be the people that care about the 1%, but don't give a fuck about the 99%, which is interesting to me because they're their clients.
And the standard is the standard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you said it. You said it right there. There's a 99% and there's the 1%. I love the 1%. I learn from the 1%. But I also understand powerlifting isn't shit without the 99%. We can't get venues. We can't meet directors can't make money.
Can't run a meet.
We can't do shit without the 99%. And I was watching the Instagram guy was asking a question about how powerlifting can get better. And this guy was like, well, get rid of formulas. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't agree with dots, but docs exist for a reason. All right. 120-pound guy's not going to be the out total me, or at least I hope not, you know. But if we get rid of formulas, that's like 800 or 900 lifters right there and there that year that won't compete because they feel like they have to go walk out there and put up an 1,800-pound total at 150 pounds, which we know is not realistic per se, depending on, you know, how you compete and, you know, your background in weightlifting. We have to have something that catered towards the 99%. And I think when I first started powerlifting, I was very loud about certain things. Like I hated dots, man. I hated that some people got rewarded for being smaller. I hated it so much. But then as I started doing more meets and started understanding, whoa, we need the dots. Some of these people would not be able to compete or win anything if we didn't have a formula. So now I kind of understand it more.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it more. You know, I love what powerlifting is going through. I hate the politics sometimes. Certain lifters are getting certain favoritism at big meets. Certain lifters are allowed to weigh in at certain times, and it's just it's a lot going on behind the scenes where certain lifters are favored more than other lifters. But that's up in the 1%. That's up in the
maybe, but it's such a small percentage.
Very small.
Where how you change powerlifting is you instill more self-respect across everybody that competes, right? If you take away. If we could just have a magic wand and just wipe away the ability for anybody to make excuses for their own lack of performance based upon something that somebody else did, all problems are solved.
Got to own the failure.
Yeah.
When you're sitting here trying to always rationalize your failure or try to make it cool or give you a reason or excuse of why you failed, that's how that happens. That's how you feel like favors should be done for you, or carpets or mountains should be moved for you as a lifter when you should be the one moving the mountains, you know? Mm-hmm. Too many people right now, they get around a certain crowd, and there's a certain crowd in powerlifting where certain things are done for them that isn't done for everybody else. Do I care about it? No, I don't give a fuck because it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me and my total. But I'm going to speak on it because it's not right. Mm-hmm. The only reason why you did that is because you couldn't stomach the fact that you failed. So now you got your whole gang of buddies behind you who may be a judge and maybe a meet director, and they're moving and pulling strings so you can feel accomplished, when in reality you fucking failed. You didn't make weight. Mm-hmm. So you had somebody change weigh-in time for you so you could make weight. You failed.
Well, I wonder though, in those situations, you have, you know, X group of lifters bitching about this group of lifters that has I can't say the word, better treatment. So if we go down that next level, the lifters that are complaining about those lifters getting this better level of treatment, are these lifters getting a better level of treatment than the person that's lifted in the meet for their first meet?
That's a good question.
I would say so.
Of course. I think
so. Why is it okay for them to get better treatment than the bottom 90% of all lifters, but not okay for the other people to get better treatment than them?
And that's why I became a meet director. I feel like everybody should be treated different, the same.
Well, they should, but you see the how conflated this can become.
Exactly.
Because they're better. I agree with what you're saying, and I do think it's wrong, right? I definitely do. But a lot of the times the people that are going to complain about that all don't understand that they are given better treatment than the majority of the other lifters that just go and compete every single weekend and every single meet. Right. So they're taking for granted the privilege that they have to bitch about the privilege that somebody else has that is in a different level.
I think it's the grass greener mentality. You always think that grass is greener with that next lifting crew or that next federation.
Yeah, but you got to understand the lifters that are coming up are always looking at the lifters right above their level.
Yeah, that is true.
For guidance on how to act and how to be, right? And they're going to follow that model. You know, so when they get there, they're going to be that same way. So the lifters, I don't think they understand the responsibility of the climb. You know, because when they climb and they get to a certain level, then they become the aspirational model, you know, for the people that want to be at that level. So they're kind of laying the groundwork for what the sport will be 5-10 years later. Right. So what we see in the sport now is the result of what the sport was 5 or 10 years ago. Right. So who was at the head of the sport then? Because if it's not better and it's not, or if it's worse,
it's their fault.
They're the ones that set the model on how to be. I'm not going to say fault. I'm just going to say model. on if it's egotistical, if it's humble, whatever it's going to be, they're the ones that are setting that model. So the lifters that are there today need to understand that they're setting the model on what the lifters coming up are going to become. So if the model is, to fall for all the drama, to fall for all the politics, to get all caught up in the drama, well, then that's what's going to happen. If the model is, fuck all that, I'm just going to stay on the yellow brick road and knock out the best total I can be humble, then that's what it's going to be.
And that's fine. That's the thing about me. I've literally been banned from a whole federation because of being outspoken about certain things. And I won't get into details because I want to respect those people. They've been on this show. So I don't want to get into it as far as details. But I've literally been banned from a whole federation because I spoke out on things that I didn't think was right. I did not think it was right. I stood up for the little guy because I was stronger, and I knew I didn't start powerlifting quick enough to be an all-time world record holder. I know that. I know that I'm not going to be an Andrew House. Andrew House started this when he was in his early 20s, 15s. You got to respect experience when it comes to iron, because it does play a huge part. But at the same time, I know I'm stronger than most. So I say, I'm going to be the one to say something. Nobody's going to say anything. Well, I'm strong enough to say something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say something. And it's caused me a lot of backlash. It's caused me a lot of issues. I haven't been able to do certain meets that a guy at my level should be able to do because of certain people that I've spoken against. And I don't regret it because at the same time, like you said, somebody from the 99% and it's the 1%.
Well, there has to be, I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. There has to be people out there willing to say shit, even if it's fucked up shit, to start conversations.
Like pay. I started.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. That's why I hosted my first meet. So lo and behold, I hosted my first meet called the King and Queen of Strength. I think it was in 2023. And I said, you know what? Every single lifter that wins some shit is getting paid. Because I feel like lifters should be paid. You want to know why? Because I know what it feels like to get ready for a meet. I know what it feels like to get ready for a meet. I know what it does to the body. And I feel like you should walk away with something. Because the amount of money you will spend on this prep will be crazy. Even a junior got to pay out at my meet. Even a kid that was 18 years old, he won the junior class, he got paid. I paid him all in cash. I made sure that I spent, and I don't know how much money I raised. I was up till 1, 2 in the morning sometime, contacting Pioneer, contacting Enzer. Shout out to all those guys who gave to my meet. Didn't even know who I was. But I told them the same thing I'm telling you now, Dave. I care about these fucking lifters, man. I'm a lifter. And I just want you to give something to the lifters. I don't care if it's cash. I don't care if it's chalk in the chalk bowl. I don't care if it's a few bars. I don't care if it's some gift cards. I want to have something to give to these lifters. And I got so much from so many companies just by leading with that, because we have so many companies that care about lifters and the meet directors don't go to them. They try to do everything on their own dollar. So now they feel like they're owed. I'm like, bro, that's not what this is about. You don't become a meet director to get rich. You become a meet director to create opportunities for lifters. That is your job. If you are not passionate enough to take that as it is and be okay with that, then you should not be meet directing. And that's why these big meets are working. The American Pros, the Surges, those meet directors care about lifters to an extent where they're willing to do everything they can, even going the hole financially sometimes, man.
Well, most meet directors do end up in the hole.
In the hole.
Because as somebody that used to sponsor meets, there is zero ROI.
None.
Zero. So as a company, you're just throwing money in the wind.
How much money I leave with that day? Like 150?
Yeah. So the sponsorships become, as a meet director, it's pretty cool the first time, but after you try to contact the same companies over and over and over again, year after year after year, the companies are like, I am getting zero return from this. I can take that same money and put it in Google ads and make a 3 times ROI, or I can give it here and it just is dust in the wind. I'm just pissing money away. And this is coming from the whole other side of all this,
right?
Is
the business
from the business side. And if I look at our customer base, 0.005% of our customers in history are listed on Open Powerlifting, right?
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, right. So then it's like, okay, if you start shelling money out left, right, then nothing comes back in. It's like, this is a shitty investment. It's just fiscally, it's a shitty investment, especially when the content you're putting out is all powerlifting based for that community for free. it's becomes a
agree.
shitty investment.
Yeah.
So then they'll come back year after year and it's like, this does not work. Right. So then if they're going to go to the same thing's going to work with all sponsors, because you're going to see this kind of plays out over a period of time, is they'll put it here, here, and here. And then all of a sudden they don't put it anymore. It's because they got 1,000 meet directors reaching out to them, for, $100, $200, $500, whatever it's going to be. And then nothing comes back in. It's just, as a company, it's a bad decision because, like I said, the ROI is not there. Then the meet director ends up 3 or 4 years into being the meet director, with no more options, right? Because where are they going to get the prize money from that? And what's interesting to me, and this would be the advice that I have for most meet directors, is they'll go to companies that operate on very small net margins, right? Retail, at best in retail, you're going to look at maybe 2 or 4% net at best. Meanwhile, the people that are making the greatest amount of money in this sport would be the online coaches with high success, right? So what's that margin? They work by themselves out of their house. They don't have any staff. They don't have any payroll, right? But they're not reaching out to them for the sponsorships, nor do they bitch when they don't give any sponsorship money to the meet.
Good point. Dan.
But they will bitch about all the companies they think are making all this bank from the sport if they don't. Right. And it's like, no, wait a minute here. I know dozens of people that are making over $100,000 a year in profit, more than the whole fucking company here makes, by the way, just training people out of their home, that you won't reach out and ask them, for sponsorship. Then if they don't do it, they don't get chastised. But, Pioneer Fit, myself,
you got to post this.
All these other companies will get our fucking shit ripped apart and have people like, fuck them. I'm not going to buy from them. They don't give back because they don't give back. Yeah. Meanwhile, the content, speaks for itself as far as giving back. They don't give back. And then they don't know how much product gets given out for free for people that can't afford the product. And that's not me. It's Pioneer. It's all these other people.
I mean, how much money are you losing out on by not doing memberships?
Oh, we don't. Yeah, that's a whole nother fucking thing. Yeah. But anyhow, where the biggest money is there, right? And it would also have an ROI, because if that's the person that's promoting the contest, and their clients are the people who lift in the meet, then who best to get exposed? Would the advertising actually have an ROI for them? But for some reason, meet directors won't reach out to them, right?
Well, we need to start doing that, though.
Yeah.
You're making a solid point, because, these coaches, they're packing these meets with their lifters.
Yeah.
And they think that's enough. That's not enough anymore, because they paid you to get ready for that meet.
Well, my thing would be, what are they giving back, right? Because they'll bitch about the companies that won't, give $400 to a meet or whatever it's going to be, but not realize that there's 100 fucking meets. Or 200 meets that are being able to do that.
Can't say yes to all of them. You'd be bankrupt.
Hell no. But meanwhile, that guy just showed up with 30 of their clients or 20 of their clients, that are paying $200 to $300, maybe $500 a month for their training.
I never thought about that.
Nobody ever thinks of this.
They're going to hear this, and they're going to. This might change Powerlifting next year. Think about it. It might, man.
I've said this.
I know. One thing I did like about Greeno, though, as soon as they announced my American Pro, he got in the comments and literally said he's going to pack out the meet with all his lifters. And I thought that was cool, because, he's not directly giving back out of his own pocket, but he's about to get probably about 30 or 40 lifters ready for that meet specifically.
No, and it also helps pull people into that meet, right? Because if his guys are going there, then the other one, because that is I think it was the first time I had John Hack on, where the biggest question I wanted to know from him was, how do you know where to compete? Because the hot federation never stays the hot federation.
What did he say?
There's like a vibe that you'll feel, after, like, the first one's got the biggest payout, right? Because they raise the most money. Then the second one, the payout goes down a little bit because they can't raise the same money for the reasons that I just explained.
Right.
Right. And then the third one, there's a certain vibe that you'll feel, before it happens. And so it was kind of that. And then other people would feel the same thing, because the number of top lifters is higher now, so it can support more of the top meets. But back then it really wasn't. And I was very, very fascinated with, how in the fuck do you guys all decide because you're not like DMing each other every single day. Like, what meet are you going to do? What meet? You're competitors. Like, yeah, they're in touch, but they're associates most of the time. They're not rivals, but they're not best friends either.
Right.
Like, how do you know? Right. And it always fascinated me because that jump to that, whatever that next one was, always happened when that same year, the other one tanked. It's like he got out right in time.
I think he does too. Another thing, a lot of it is some of these meets have been around for a while too. Like the Surge has been around for a very long time now. American Pro, they did a good job of staking a claim on their first one. So now I think that's the one that's going to be around all the time. The Reach Rumble and what they did with the Reach Pre-Workout Cup, that was something we had never seen before with the singlets and, provided for the athletes. So that's going to be around a long time. I think what happens, certain meets get a certain amount of star power and they want to keep that momentum going. And honestly, John Hack I wouldn't be surprised he was getting paid to do certain meets.
Well, it's kind of rough too, because by the time somebody gets to that level, from a longevity standpoint, the clock is now ticking backwards because it takes a while to get to that level, right? So it kind of be like if you're playing in the NFL, right? There's a certain point to where you're aspiring to just keep growing and developing, but then there's going to be that pivot where how many more years do I have left? It's kind of the same way in powerlifting. Once you get to that certain level, it's like, okay, how many years can I sustain this?
Let me ask you this question. This is a big one. I know I was gonna ask you this before I got here. I was on the plane. I'm like, I'm gonna ask Dave this question. I want his honest answer. So you've seen Colton, you've seen John. I think ABS is genius for setting this up, the face-to-face thing. What do you got?
They're the same weight class? I mean, if are we going total or are we going formula?
We're going formula. Colton's number one totals and dots right now, men-wise.
Where's it at? They both have the same amount of travel?
No. Colton's got to get a visa. Good question. Colton's got to get a visa. But Colton's never been in sleeves.
So his total's been in wraps?
Yeah, I don't know if he has a raw.
No, I think it was wraps.
I know I can look it up, but I think Colton has never had a sleeved meet. He's never had a sleeve meet. Yep, here he is. He had a raw meet back when he was a 220.
This is ABS, right? So the biggest total wins.
No, not this particular meet. They're going on stiff bars, monolifts, and sleeves. So they're trying to make it IPF style.
Yeah, but is it based upon the biggest total wins or is it formula?
It's formulas. And Colton right now has a 683, but in wraps.
Right.
Colton squats 1036. Now, me personally, I'm going to tell you my pick will be John Hack, because John Hack has more experience competing in this style. He started in natural powerlifting circuit. He started pulling on stiff bars. He's always been in sleeves, always walked out. I don't think I've seen John in wraps in years. But you never really know, man. I don't know.
I would probably go with hesitantly John on experience.
That's what, yeah.
Because Colton's going to have to miss something.
He's not gonna squat 1,000 walking out on a power bar. I just don't see it happening. But John also squats 9.
Why the squat?
Well, you got to put the combination in. How much is he getting out of wraps and a monolift?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So, Colton's normally in a monolift. He's normally in a monolift. He's normally in wraps. John's walking out every single one of the squats. I don't think John uses the monolift as it should. I think he walks it out either way.
It's still a couple 100-pound difference, right? Yeah. That's got to be made up. And so then on the bench, you know what I'm saying? So
they're close on bench and they're pretty.
Yeah, it's close on the bench, and the deadlift is, you know what I'm saying? So I would say Colton's got to miss something. If he hits his lifts, even if they're solid conservative lifts, I was going to say he's probably capable of beating him. But one mistake Probably not.
You ever thought about doing commentary for these type of meet days?
I did for Laura's Pro-Am for a little bit. Me and AJ Roberts sat down and did it. And
he's got the bench wars coming up at the Olympia. I wanted to do that so bad, AJ Roberts. I wanted to do it, but I need to chill. It's done 4 meets this year.
It wasn't what I thought. It wasn't like doing a podcast.
Oh,
you know, it's a lot of shit to pay attention to. You know, because you're trying to look at this screen to see who's up next. You're trying to look, was this fucking made? There's a lot going on, man. And if it was structured in such a way where all you had to do was basically just commentate and not have to like figure all the shit out, then maybe a little bit differently. Seems like a whole lot of prep, you know, to be able to know who everybody is, you know, because optimally you would know who everybody is. You would know a backstory for everybody. And that would be what? 60 people that you would have to be able to know, keep that shit straight. You know, it's fucking hard enough with podcasts to be able to know somebody's backstory and all the other things. But it's, how do you like doing it?
Well, I didn't commentate. I did MC, so it's easier. I don't really know how to. I just have to say the nice things that lifters like to hear, which I don't know. I've always been good at saying the things lifters need to hear in that moment, because I say the things that are in my mind. So I didn't have to know everybody, but MCing is very fun because you know just as well as I do, there could be that one guy in the vicinity that says that one thing, and you're not going to miss that lift. You're not going to miss that lift. So I enjoy MCing a lot. And especially with Dan Grigsby, that was the first time I ever seen him lift in person. And Instagram doesn't do these guys, these top 1% guys. Instagram doesn't do them justice. They look totally different in person. I remember the first time I saw Eric Lillybridge in person, and I just wanted to go sit down somewhere. Like, bro, his delts were bigger than my head. I was competing at the Arnold XPC with Dan Donahue's meet. And I did novice day and Ernie did pro day. So I came back to see Ernie lift. Ernie was absolutely insane, won the whole meet. But Eric was handling him. You know, those guys, they're like 2 peas in a pod. And I see Eric and I'm like, man. So my boy's like, bro, who's Eric? I'm like, bro, you don't know who Eric Lillybridge is? He's like, no. I'm like, bro, all right, before there was Larry Wheels, there was Eric. Okay, and Eric had all this shit on lock. And the Lillybridge family just kind of pushed that raw thing into the stratosphere. And the first time I saw Eric, I was like, his shoulders were like bigger than my head. And I'm a pretty big guy. Like I was there and I was probably about 290, 300. Eric was insane. And that's when I knew I had a long way to go, man. I knew nowhere near it. And I started to go look. I didn't even know Eric and Andrew House used to train together for a little bit. I had no idea that. They had a deadlift day together that was posted. It was insane. Some of the most insane things I've ever seen. But these kids, they don't know anything about that side of powerlifting. They have no idea those things existed. They just see these guys and I say, hey, you know who Pat Casey is? They have no idea who he is. You know who Matt Dimmel is? Oh, y'all don't know who Matt Dimmel is. Oh, you have no idea who these guys are. And I'm like, bro, do you really love powerlifting? Or do you know anything about the history of the people that came before you? And these kids have no idea. They'll look at you crazy in the face. I talked to this one guy. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be the strongest guy in my gym. You know, I talked to him. I say, hey, bro, you ever seen Westside versus World? You know Westside Barbell? And they're like, no. And I'm like, what? And there's just certain things I feel like you should know as a powerlifter. Just like as a basketball fan, you should know who certain basketball players are. And it's the same thing. And there's a lack of love for the history of powerlifting now. It's crazy, man.
I think it's always been there.
I don't know, man.
I think
you guys cared about who came before you.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, you know, but you're too focused on what you're doing to give a fuck about the people, you know, before. You aspired, you know, because of Powerlifting USA, so you're aspiring to be like them. The means has changed. You know, it's not a magazine today. It's, you know, social media, you know, but the focus is still on, you know, yourself. You know, being the best lifter that you can possibly be. You know, that's where that primary focus is. Then you the more you get into it, the more you start to learn the history of it, because you become obsessed, right? And when that level of obsession starts to kick in, you want to know how these people trained. Then you want to know, what did they all do that was kind of the same? Because everybody trains differently, but you want to figure out what's the common denominator. And then you start looking, you know, at all the past greats.
Yeah, all the great powerlifters during your time had some point in time where they were training like bodybuilders. That's
it could just be that they haven't hit that point of obsession.
I hope so, man.
Yeah.
I get some scary things. I hear some scary things from these kids. I'm like, you have no idea who Bill Kazmaier is. And they're like, no. And I'm like, what? Like, how do you not know who that guy is? And they're like, oh, well, and then I show it to them. Like, what? He did this and this too? And he won the world's strongest man and he was IPF? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
He was.
I guess I could probably relate it to like high school football, right? So most high school football players probably don't know the greats in the NFL from 30 years ago.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand that.
But when they get to college and they got to start reviewing film, then they start learning, well, who is the best defensive end of all time? Then you're going to start looking and be
You're right, because I didn't know who LT was. I was a senior.
Yeah, but then because you want to know, what did they do? How did they do this? How did they approach that? Then you start looking through there, because that level of it's went up a notch. It went through there with the sport
engagement.
With the sport being so much bigger, it's exposed to way more people. So there's more high school football players, or let's call it high school powerlifters, than there ever were before. Before, you weren't a powerlifter until you were kind of already serious.
I wish my high school had that. That'd be crazy. They got kids doing some crazy stuff in single ply now. I seen one kid, he was repping 900 on squat, and I'm like, man, you're going to be crazy when you grow up.
Mm-hmm.
I wish my high school had that. We didn't have a powerlifting program. I didn't even know they even had something like that.
Well, there's more competitive beginners than there's ever been before.
Ever.
So again, if people go look at open powerlifting, any weight class, and you scroll way down, to me, there's no reason why anybody should not compete that has an aspiration to compete, because they're going to do better than they think. Go look at those lists. And
kids are being born stronger and faster than ever before, bigger than ever before. Like, kids don't even look like kids in high school. I'm like, bro, like, you see highlights of certain football players and like, man, that kid's like 40 now.
Yeah. So say when you were coming up and this didn't exist, in the back of your head is like, there's a little piece of you like, I'm not strong enough to compete yet, because you don't know what the standard is. You don't know what that strength is. And maybe at best there was powerlifting USA top 100. Then you look at that and like, fuck, I can't, I'm not strong enough to even make that list. Where now they can look and see what the 3,000 depth is. Like, holy crap, at 275, these people are squatting 185. I can do that.
Yeah.
So it's opened the door to make it so people they don't think I'm not strong enough to compete. Where this was a big deal for a long time. People asking like, how do I know I'm ready to compete? Like, and the default answer was just find the next meet.
Just go. And nobody's going to be able to tell you when.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be able to tell you when you're ready to compete.
Yeah, but they had a legitimate claim because they wouldn't feel like they were strong enough yet. And there was no basis to be able to see what that really is. Where now it's way opened, to where any lift, is acceptable. And no lift was ever frowned upon, right? It was just more of a risk to be able to put yourself out there and feel like you're going to go there and you're going to be like the worst person there. And nobody wants to be the worst person.
Nobody wants to be the weakest guy.
Yeah. Where now the powerlifting is so much bigger that they can look around in any gym and be like, well, fuck, I'm almost as strong as this dude. I can compete, so that's going to bring in a level of competitor that isn't obsessed. Whereas before, you say you got 5-6 years of hardcore bodybuilding training, you're pulling 600 pounds. You're like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this meet, and be able to jump in there. Different mindset than if you were only pulling 315 at the time and you had no idea. You'd be like, man, I don't want to go in there and look terrible. Nobody wants to go someplace and just absolutely suck.
And that's why I had to mature, and I'm better with it this year than I was last year. Because last year, powerlifting was probably my craziest obsession, where I hated people that weren't as obsessed as me. And I had to learn, like, bro, everybody's not going to be obsessed with this like you are. And it's okay not to take it personal. Don't take it to a personal level with this person. Just understand you have a different investment in this. I always tell guys, they tell me on the internet, man, I just bench 225 for the first time today and I get on Instagram and see this. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure there's something in your life you're better at than I am. You might be better at doing your taxes than me. I suck at doing my taxes, or you might be better at maybe car maintenance than me, or something like that. I'm like, everybody has their strength. It doesn't always have to be in the gym. And then my thing is everybody starts somewhere now. But when I first got involved, Dave, that's the problem. I saw Westside too early. I saw how you guys were you just couldn't be anybody. You had to be something. You had to have something to come in that gym. And you had to have a certain mentality to be a part of that group. So when I got involved with powerlifting, I was like, you know what? That's how I'm going to be. I'm going to have this hardcore mentality. And if you're not obsessed with this like I am, then fuck you. I don't care about you. I don't like you. I don't want to talk to you. You know, and then I had to learn, hey, that's not the culture anymore. Hey, bro, things have changed now. You can't be that way. It took me getting kicked out of a couple gyms to get there. You know, there's a couple gyms I can't go to in Georgia right now because I just got so angry at the unpassionate people around. Like, bro, why don't you care more than this? I care a lot, you know. And
at the end of the day, that hurts your lifting.
It does.
Because now you're stressing out about things that you can't control. Right, which makes it harder for you to recover from your own sessions.
Nah, I don't care now. You know, and you're right. So as soon as I stopped caring about that, that's when all right, cool, man.
Yeah, the higher the level and difference can become, the better lifter you become, because all that it's a lot of noise.
Yeah,
all that noise gets silenced to where you can focus on what you really need to do.
I used to get angry at guys and like, hey, bro, you put that same 3 reds on the bar the same 3 weeks, man. Put something else on the bar. And I would get angry and literally go off, like just lose my mind. And now I realize, all right, that's just what that guy wants to do. This is his therapy. There's probably a reason why he just keeps doing that same weight. I shouldn't care so much.
Well, if you're competitive and you're super competitive, you want to compete with him, you don't need to worry about competing with that.
And that's what I just started telling myself. Well, that's one less guy I got to worry about worrying about. Because that's all it is. This is all like a list. And I'm looking at and I tell them all the time, like my states, they're trying to host these little private meets in their gym, unsanctioned, to see who the best of the best is. And I clown them. I'm like, hey, bro, you know, we have a whole database for this. You don't need to host a private meet. Why don't you always go to a real meet where it counts and do it? You know, but again, I stopped caring about it. I didn't give it too much energy.
Yeah.
Because he said it was going to be invite only. And I'm like, how are you going to see who the best is in the state if the meet's invite only and unsanctioned? So these lifts count to what standard? Your standard? So they are the best to you or what? You know, what are we actually doing here? You know, but now, like you said, Dave, I don't care about half the things I care about that I used to. I conserve my energy now. I see stuff all the time in the gym now. I'm like, what is that guy doing? But you know what I do? Instead, I push out positive energy. Hey, man, good job. Good set.
Well, that makes your training better.
It makes my training better because I know, although that guy does some weird shit in the gym, here he is coming over because I clapped for him. He's coming to clap for me. And I got some serious shit on the bar. I need you, bro. Thanks.
Yeah.
I've created a relationship with this guy now, whereas 2 years ago, this guy would have hated my guts because I would have clowned him. Like, hey, bro, it's fucking 225. What you yelling for? Yeah. Now I'm like, yeah, man, 225. Good job. All right, I got 450 on the bar, bro. Here we go. And he's like, you got it, Gene. I'm like, yeah, man. Thanks. I'm glad I changed my mentality. A lot of that has to do with Curtis Leslie, though. He didn't play that shit. You're not going to come in his gym and be a negative person. He'll kick you out. One of my best friends still can't come back to Marietta Barbell because of that situation where he was being mean to some younger lifter and Curtis ripped him a whole new one. Bad, to the point where he doesn't come back to the gym anymore. But as I got older, I realized, damn, Curtis, now I know why you did that, because you can't be like that. You can't constantly be a negative influence in the gym just because you're strong or just because you're somewhat strong. There's a reason why you're strong, and it's a responsibility to the community to use that strength to uplift and inspire and motivate people. And that's the phase I'm in right now. I don't just want to be strong. I also want to be the reason why certain other people are strong too. And I know I'm not going to be the strongest powerlifter ever, but maybe I can be a powerlifter that people remember where, man, yeah, he wasn't the strongest, but he brought good energy in the room. He was a good guy to be around, and he didn't care if it was 1 plate on the bar or 6 plates on the bar. Gene was going to yell for you. And that's what I'm trying to establish now, you know? So I don't know. It's just been 3 years of powerlifting and 3 different life cycles. So I don't know if anybody lived powerlifting as fast as I have, but I don't see myself burning out. I love the sport. You know, raps are getting a lot of shit now. Equipped is getting a lot of shit now, and I don't agree with it. You know, I got a friend right now that we argue every week. She's like, oh, well, raps are cheating. I'm like, how the fuck is he cheating when this shit started in raps? How the fuck is he cheating? I said, go look up when sleeves first started. Go look at the first sleeve meet and tell me when it was. And he never does it. He never does it ever when I ask him to do it. And he's like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, that's cheating. I'm like, bro, it's not cheating. I said, you don't understand. These guys were going to Walgreens, Rite Aid, and they're wrapping their knees with ace bandages. Do you think they were cheating? He's like, that's not the same thing. I'm like, bro, it's the same concept. Better shit comes along, just like better bench shirts came along, just like better squat suits came along. I say, humans evolve, bro. Why is it cheap? And then he just, the conversation just ends at that point, you know. But I love powerlifting to the extent where there's no one way to be a powerlifter. I love the fact that powerlifting has so many different divisions now, where it's raw, it's wrap, single ply, multiply, unlimited. Now, I'm not man enough to go multiply. I am sorry. I don't know how the fuck y'all got in all that shit. That shit is crazy. I put one multiply bench shirt on, and that was the workout. That was the workout, because I got under 500, and I'm like, bro, this is it. I'm done, bro. This is cool, you know. Like, my thing is to go ahead and get the totals I need in raw and wrapped, and I'm gonna move into single ply, because I want to leave powerlifting. Like Travis Rogers is awesome. That guy has a total pretty much every style you can have powerlifting, because he loves the game. He loves powerlifting, and he has a community. He's built a community around him. He hosts a meet, and everybody does his meet in the area. His lifters do the meet. People come from all over. They do the meet. And that's a guy. I was talking to Travis Rogers probably about 2 years ago. He was mentoring me with the Goggins situation. You know, he was on the phone with me. Hey, man, I understand you're upset, and it's a huge letdown of this guy, somebody you looked up to, but it's okay, man. This is how you need to conduct yourself. And you can be that new thing around Georgia if you can be. And that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to be a more positive guy in the gym. I don't let people leave the gym without putting shit up. You know, I try to be more of a mentor in the gym community now, instead of like a raging roid head now. Because when I first started, man, I was mad all the time, angry all the time, and I was letting that old anger come back out. So now I'm happy for powerlifting. I'm happy for where it's headed. Still gonna speak out about. I'm still gonna speak out about a lot of shit. I'm not going to hold my tongue. I don't care if I can't do that big meet. You know, I got a career. I make money, so it doesn't matter if I can't get that payout. That's fine. But there has to be people willing that have those totals or those dots that say, hey, man, that shit is not right. And I'm strong just like them. They're just not saying anything. I'm going to say something. And it's caused me a lot of issues, but I think that's my role in powerlifting. My role is not to be the guy at the top out in powerlifting. My role is to be one of those guys somewhere near the top, but also one of those guys later on in life who puts this away and says, all right, we're going to start hosting meets now. And I know, because I was one of you guys. Here's me back in 2025, and I know what you need. So come do my meet, you know, and that's where I'm at, Dave. I looked up to you guys back then, and how you guys did not give a fuck, man. You cared about powerlifting. All you cared about was lifting. And I try to embody that as much as I can. I haven't always been right with some of the things I've done in powerlifting. I'll never say that. I've never been, sometimes I have been the bad guy. Sometimes I have been the bad guy in many different situations. But I never regret sticking up for the little lifters. I'll never regret that.
How can somebody go about following you? What's the best way?
Just Instagram. Just Instagram. I deactivated my TikTok, man. It started making me nauseous, man. That platform is crazy, man. You get exposed to everything on TikTok.
I don't go on there, but I did my research with looking you up did not involve the TikTok.
Yeah. So I have a TikTok. Yeah. It was doing well because, you know, I rage after every deadlift, but and that always gains attention. But I like Instagram. I'm on there more. No Facebook, just Instagram. You can always hit me up if you ever want to talk or need advice. I'm probably going to tell you to work harder first, but that's it. I'm a simple guy, man. I work 8 to 5. I get off work, I head to the gym, then I go home at night, man. I don't, you know, my life is pretty calm now compared to what it was when I told you with the origin story. I like it, man. And that's what powerlifting did for me. You know, powerlifting saved my life to the extent where I'm probably going to be involved with this sport in some capacity, probably for the rest of my life, you know, and I'm just grateful for the sport as a whole. I'm grateful for the good. I'm grateful for the bad. I'm grateful for the shitty meet directors, the good meet directors, the bad feds, the good feds. I'm grateful for all of that because all of this is just a huge adventure. I'm glad I'm even a part of powerlifting. I'm humbled to even be a part of the sport, period. You know, so, you know, for all those guys that are listening, if Chuck V ever listens to this, man, just thanks for being a huge inspiration, man. Thanks for Chuck V made it. He was the one that told me it was okay to be angry. When I saw him lift, I saw that it was okay to be angry in the gym. So that's why I deal with my shit. You know, that's why I deal with my shit. And even still to this day, before every single meet, I watch you guys. Westside versus the World. I turn the fucking movie on and I just watch it. And I just learned, and it's just the way Louis made that shit feel. The way he made it sound. Louis made powerlifting sound like this was the only thing that fucking mattered in life. Nothing else matters. Not your fucking wife, bills, kids, none of that. It's powerlifting. That's it. And I ask myself all the time, man, could I have made it with those guys? And I never definitively answer yes or no. I never know. I don't know what day it would have been where I would have walked in and said, enough of this shit. Fuck this. I have no idea. But I always wonder all the time, man, because what you guys had back then was, that'll never happen again. That will never happen again, because powerlifting people aren't wired that way anymore. They're not wired that way anymore. They're not wired in a way where they're able to take what you guys took back then. And that's one thing I wanted to make sure I came here and told you. That shit was special, man. I don't know if you get the credit. I don't know if people tell you this, or if people tell those old Westside guys that, Dave Hoff, all of that. You guys do not get the respect that you guys deserve in this era. And I want you to know that. You guys get a lot of shit. A lot of the shit you guys have done has gone on to be forgotten to an extent, and it shouldn't be. You know, I still respect Dave for the 3K. That shit's insane. Somebody just tried to break it and they just couldn't make it. Phil is awesome. Phil is the best squatter of all time, but he couldn't do it. It was different, man. It was different. You had to be somebody. I even got a video of the board on my phone. As soon as I won the Arnold Classic, I went straight to Westside and took a video of the board. You know, because if Louis was alive, I would have fucking ran him. Hey, Louis, man, I won the fucking Arnold. You'll coach me? You know, that's what I wanted to do. You know, sadly, I wasn't a part of that era, but Dave, I don't know if anybody ever told you, man, but thank you for you and your team and your lifting crew, whether it be the night crew, the second night crew. I don't know how many night crews it was. It was like 3 or 4 night crews.
Yeah.
If you ever talk to Chuck V, if he's ever watching this, if you can show him this part, tell him thank you, man. Because I don't know if anybody ever told you guys that, but you guys were a huge inspiration to a younger me, and you're a huge inspiration now. And when I got a lift coming up that I'm nervous about, or I even have one shred of fear about, I turn on Westside versus the World, and I see you guys just fucking doing stupid shit. I was like, fuck. You mean to tell me he tied his arm to the fucking, you know, that story where he fucked up his arm and he tied it to the, well, you're going to use your other arm. And I'm like, damn. So when I tore my quad a year ago, I just came back from it. I completely ruptured my VMO. Even now, if I show you my legs, the teardrop muscle is gone. And I took a year off. But I also learned about guys at your gym that tore pecs, came back from it. Greg Panoro did some crazy, I think he benched 500 on a torn pec or some shit like that. I talked to him on Instagram as much as I can. I still hold my 550 bench. I'm 5 pounds away. I told him a year ago, he says, yeah, you bench 550, I'll coach you. And I'm like, all right. So I'm still working for it, but what you guys did back then was insane. You don't get the respect you deserve in powerlifting. Honestly, it should be you guys running the fucking show, but it's not. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. But for lifters like me and some of the lifters I train with, they highly respect you guys. When I told some of the guys I was coming to sit down, they was like, Dave Tate, that's insane, from Westside. I'm like, yeah, from Westside, bro. And they're like, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's crazy, man. So thank you for what you guys did.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. We're about ready to run out of card space, so we're going to wrap this up and we're done.
All right, man.
All content you see on this channel and at elitefts.com is created by, take a guess, Elite FTS. If you want to help support the content, head over to elitefts.com and pick up literally anything that you need to be able to get more jacked and strong.